Hey, everybody. Welcome.
Hello.
To True Crime and Wine Time. But not just
Hello.
True Crime and Wine Time, but the special investigation of the Zizians.
Yes.
It's been a roller coaster so far.
That it has. I don't think it's disappointed anybody yet.
I don't think it will. I can't imagine it disappointing anybody. You know me and you know Tara, but who you don't know is who's down below us, but certainly still above us, because she lifts the content up, and that would be Captain. And Captain, how are you doing?
Hey guys, I would be lying if I didn't say I was super nervous for it to be on stream tonight, but I'm happy to be here. And I do, most of our viewers know me because I'm always making bad jokes in chat. So now you get to hear them in my voice.
Yeah, right. Now we'll know forever the tone of her voice. Thank you for being here, Captain. We're so excited to have you. I told some people there was going to be a surprise tonight, and the surprise is you. And you look beautiful tonight. Our dear Terry couldn't be with us tonight, but she is in the chat, so maybe hopefully we don't disappoint her tonight and her just be like, okay,
pair,
what is happening?
We are a duo of unfortunate events, is what we are. I mean, Terry couldn't control hers. I couldn't really control mine. But, you know, I wasn't here on Thursday because of norovirus. It was just bad.
It has been a week.
It is indeed. Yeah, it's been quite the 7 to 10 days, I suppose. But Terry said she's holding down the bed. I mean,
good job.
Don't let it take off. This is not Bed Knobs and Broomsticks or Little Nemo. So, and that's a deep cut.
A snake.
If you know what I'm talking about, that's a deep damn cut. Well, do you want to talk about what's in store?
Yeah, so we're here tonight to bring to you guys episode 2 of our special investigation, Zizians Unveiled. This is a multi-part deep dive into the world of the Zizian Cult, a group of radical, trans, vegan, rationalist anarchists that have left a trail of bodies from coast to coast recently. This is by far the wildest, most complex true crime case I have ever come across. And I've been in this world for a long time. And because it's so recent, there's new news coming out all the time. So we got a lot of information to give you guys. But so for the next several Sundays, to make this story easier, we've broken it down. So for the next several Sundays, you can join us here at 9 p.m. Eastern as we unspin this insane web of of craziness they weaved. And so if you haven't yet, be sure to like this video so people can see us and watch with us, and subscribe to our channel and turn that notification bell on so you don't miss when we go live.
Yes. Yes. And if there's one thing that I've learned about this series and reading it and, you know, everything that's been going on with it, it requires drinking. And so let's talk about what we have in our hands.
In our hands? Well,
Bars?
okay, I'll go first. I'll go first. So for the last episode, I made the mistake of drinking all of my wine before the show. So tonight I came prepared with 2 bottles of Barefoot Moscato. Oh, that first bottle is empty already. So don't worry. I got a second one because if there's any case that needs I'm going to need to drink both of those. It's going to be tonight while reading through Ziz's blog. I'm also drinking out of my Darth Vader wine glass, and I have on my Silicon Valley black turtleneck. So to really, get into the vibe of tonight. It'll make sense later, I promise. Captain, what about you?
To be honest, wine probably would hit me a little too hard to be on a live stream. So I'm sticking with the last Abita strawberry lager that I found in the fridge. This was all somewhat last minute. But according to the Abita website, it's made with Pilsner and wheat malts, tradition hops, and the finest Louisiana-grown strawberries, resulting in a light gold lager with a subtle haze.
Ooh.
Now, my words, it is my favorite beer. And I could not find it when I lived on the West Coast. Now that I'm back in Georgia, I saw it at the store and made my Mardi Gras. So
I love that.
But there is only one, unfortunately. So after that, we're going to be doing Radler.
I'm going to have to see if we have that in Ohio, because that sounds pretty good. I'm not a beer drinker, but that sounds delicious. So
it does sound really good. And, I feel like anytime that a beer is described, it really needs a Southern accent. Like, and the finest Louisiana grown strawberries resulting in the light gold lager. It just feels like it needs it. Yeah. I'm just gonna stick with beer tonight. Why? Because I can. I don't. This story's wild, and I had more of these than of those. So it's a Ballad Brewing Kolsch style golden ale. It's about 5.4%. It's really not. It's not a lot, but I do have 5 of them. So yay! It's pretty good for it being like in the 60s right now outside, which has been weird. It was very breezy today. Not nearly as breezy as it has been for some of our friends, Captain included, and a few others who are here with us tonight. Please stay safe, by the way. But that's what I'm going to be drinking, and I think we all have made some great choices. Who knows? We'll see by the end of this, won't we?
We'll see how I feel tomorrow when I'm like, oh, guys, I made poor choices. Yeah. But that's show business.
Well,
what are you going to do?
Hey. So you all heard this last time, but I'm going to say it again this time. The series involves many non-binary and transgender people, and we are not going to avoid the topics as they are important to the philosophy of the cult. All subjects are going to be introduced with their chosen name and legal name for the sake of legal research. We are going to do our best to use appropriate pronouns, but know that if any mistakes are made, it speaks to the vast number of players in this case and the complicated nature of their beliefs. And it's in no way, us, it's in no way intended to disrespect their gender identity. We are very proud of the respectful and inclusive chat community we have here. Our regulars know the drill, but to anybody who's popping in, please know that we don't tolerate hate speech. And honestly, statistically speaking, trans people are 4 times more likely than cisgendered people to be the victims of crime. We're not here to fan that fire. We are here to discuss how this group of bright young people ended up involved in multiple deaths. So much. And just saying thanks to Amos for being a member for 3 months.
Oh, happy member anniversary, Amy. Love that. Excellent.
So yeah. Let's see. So just like with with the last episode, everybody else has made some very helpful graphics to go along with
courtesy of Captain and Amy.
Yes, Captain has made some
Amy
have made some wonderful graphics to go along with the story. So if you're listening to this as a podcast, I cannot suggest enough that you watch this on our True Crime and Wine Time YouTube channel to follow along. And believe me, you're going to want something to follow along with. We are going to do a great job of helping you visualize with verbiage. Thank you, producer Tara. But real visuals help. So, thank you. Just to
hi,
give you that idea.
Happy
Ivamos!
number anniversary.
Good to see you.
I know, long time no see for Ivamos.
Glad you're here. All right. So, in our last episode, we covered the recent Vermont Border Patrol shootout in January this year that left Ophelia Felix Baucalt and border agent David Chris Mayland dead, and Milo Teresa Youngblood incarcerated on federal gun charges. It was this incident that unearthed a series of previous violent murders across the country that have been associated with members of a so-called cult led by a Ziz Jack Lasota. Didn't think you needed the visuals. How about that?
So true. So true.
Right?
So if you haven't listened to the last episode, please pause this right now and go watch that video. It's the first one in the series, so it's easy to catch up. You can find it under lives on our channel or on the curated playlist about the Zizians. And then you can come back to this episode once you're caught up, because this is a story where you're going to want to hear all the details, because there are a lot of details.
All of them. And the one is they're just all so fascinating. What a world. The story, the truth is stranger than fiction, that's for sure. So now in the last episode, we talked about where things are now in 2025. But tonight, we want to take you all back in time to 2016, which is the beginning of this long and convoluted story that we have to tell you.
How did 2016 become a decade ago? I mean,
I know.
Justin Bieber and Drake were top of the... that didn't age well. They
pre-COVID days.
They were there.
Crazy.
Back in them pre-COVID days.
No, when I realized it was like almost 10 years, I was like, oh my goodness. I don't like that at all.
It's like when people were undercover crazy and not unmasked crazy. Haha, see what I
like that. So I promised you all last week that we would get more into Ziz and who she is. And we are here to deliver tonight, you guys. Okay, so you see, Ziz kept a blog for a few years called Sincerely. Yes, Sincerely. And even though she took it down, just like many things on the internet, it did not go away. So someone had backed up her blog, and that is going to help us with learning about the early years of this group. So for the next 2 episodes, we will be reading excerpts from one specific post of hers called The Rationalist Fleet to help tell the chapters of the story. I mean, what better way than in her own words? All I can say is brace yourself, you guys, because it is... I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited.
And honestly, while the title of her blog, Sincerely, I think it's actually kind of clever. It's more dense than a toddler's diaper at the end of the night. So this is why I have 5.
Yeah. So before we get into that, though, why don't we start with some of Ziz's background and early life? Captain, what you got for us?
So Ziz was born with the name Jack Amadeus Lasota on January 23rd, 1991 to Dan and Kate Lasota.
The names,
Amadeus was described as fair of hair, which he was rather vain about, nothing special overall, gave no signs of his genius, and I say, checks out.
I just love Amadeus. And then last week we had Maximilian Bentley Snyder. Like, amazing.
These parents, they knew.
They were destined for something.
So what else?
Ziz was assigned male at birth, but later in her life began identifying as female. She grew up in Fairbanks, Alaska with her 2 sisters, Naomi and Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Her parents were both professionals, with her dad working as an AI researcher for the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Not much is known about her early years, but we do know that she seemed to excel academically. She interned with NASA and graduated magna cum laude from the University of Alaska Fairbanks with a degree in computer engineering in 2013. She attended the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign to pursue a master's degree in electrical and computer engineering, but ended up dropping out.
You know, just like
Now,
with the group we talked about last week. Again, highly educated. You
Highly
know?
educated and like from a legacy of computer engineering.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so interesting. But go ahead, JT.
I'll say it. Silver spoon. Now, when she started going by the name Ziz, or why she chose that name, we don't know. What did I do?
Oh, no. I'm going to laugh a lot tonight. Don't assume I'm laughing at you. It's just knowing
okay. Great.
coming.
Yeah.
So don't mind me.
Yeah. Very true. Okay. So we don't really know why she chose the name, but it's widely believed that it came from an online novel called Worm by John C. McCrae. Because when I think nicknames, I think Worm. We're not gonna get into the overall story, but it's basically a story of a nerdy girl who gets superpowers and evolves into a badass trying to save the world. And while that certainly sounds like a character Ziz could relate to, wait, I have something coming in. No, wait, that turns out that's not the right character. Let me just check my notes on the back of this beer can here. Ziz actually took her name from one of the Endbringers who wants to destroy the world. Because of course she does. According to the Worm, did I deliver it appropriately? According to the Worm fandom wiki, Ziz is one of the aliases of this of the Seamorg, and is one of the 3 original Endbringers, alongside Behemoth and Leviathan. So clearly a villain. So
excellent choice.
Before we get into a direct quote, it seems like she's a wannabe cosplayer of a wannabe villain created by a wannabe Stan Lee. So unpack that for a bit here.
R.I.P.
Was going for Worm, and all we got were butt worms. So here's a short glimpse
for you, Annie.
at the character's personality. It was just calling for it. So here's a short glimpse at the character's personality. The Seamorg's thought patterns are clinical and not human, being very goal-oriented and future-focused. She is a cunning planner who, after finding a desired future outcome, will methodically work backwards to decipher the critical events needed to make this outcome possible. She then takes actions in an attempt to causally cause these events to occur, such as taking intervening actions to ideally stop other events from happening that would causally prevent her desired outcome. Show, don't tell. Show, don't tell.
I
can't.
I'm embarrassed to even do this right now, but I'm going to. But Seamorg, feed me, Seamorg. Feed me, Seamorg.
Feed me, Seamorg.
I mean,
honestly,
come on.
Seamorg, and all I can think of is Sea-Org. Truly.
That's Amy.
There we are in
the same.
Boom. I didn't even see it, but that's what I thought.
Oh man. So, you know, what fascinates me about Ziz, you guys, I'm going to be so freaking snarky tonight. I hope you guys are prepared. We all are going to be so snarky, right? Oh, I love how it kind of looks like from Beetlejuice. Anyway.
It does.
So what fascinates me about Ziz, Miss, I'm going to save the world from evil. Instead of picking the hero to be inspired by, she's like, no, I would like to be the naked evil lady, please and thank you. And I don't think we get into it this episode. But during this time period that we're about to talk about, this 2016 era, Ziz refers to it as her turn to the dark side. And so some of you are probably like in Star Wars. And the answer is yes. Yes, it's exactly like in Star Wars, because you see, Ziz also states that her religion is Sith, like a little fucking edgelord. Like, and now that explains my Darth Vader wine glass for tonight. See, I told you I'd tie it all in together there. But it's just like, really, of all the names, you're gonna go with that one. Okay, that says a lot about you. Anyway, so moving on. In her early 20s, Ziz began donating and participating in rationalist workshops presented by the organizations. Hold on just a second.
Lisa Wilmot's here.
Story. Lisa Wilmot, one of our lovely viewers, has stopped into the chat, and she's kind of a big deal. We haven't seen her in so long. And she just said, OMG, hello, puppets. Who are these three gorgeous hosts I see? Hi, Lisa. I love you. Miss you. That was for you. Anyway, let me start that over again because I got sidetracked by awesomeness. So in her early 30s, Ziz began donating and participating in rationalist workshops presented by the organizations MURI, which stands for Machine Intelligence Research Institute, and CFAR, which is the Center for Applied Rationality. You don't need to memorize those yet. We are going to talk about them a lot, not tonight, but in the next episode or in the next two episodes. Oh my goodness. Anyway, we'll go deep into that. It's not super duper important for tonight, but Ziz's ties to MURI and CFAR are crucial here. Okay, so both these organizations focus on AI safety, long-term thinking, and rational decision-making. They attract people who see the world in terms of existential risk, which may have reinforced Ziz's beliefs that AI ethics was one of the most important moral issues in history. Okay, like this is her big deal over here. So Ziz's first... What's that?
All I could think of was it's her Mr. Holland's opus. That's what it is. It's her Mr. Holland's opus.
Yes. So Ziz's first CFAR residency workshop in 2014 was a very pivotal moment for her. So the purpose of this workshop, and by the way, again, not saying they're a cult, but I'm just saying they got like workshops you can pay on to learn how to be a better person. Anyway, the purpose of this workshop was to teach critical thinking skills and techniques to enhance and understand human decision-making, key aspects of the rationalist movement. We are about to learn tonight that Ziz took nothing away from this workshop. Nothing. No good decision-makings going on here. But anyway, Ziz writes in her blog, I went to a CFAR workshop. Anna, the president of CFAR, said I seemed like I could be strategically important and busted me out of the psychological pawnage by my abusive thesis advisor. That's the voice I'm going with tonight, you guys, so prepare yourselves.
And that's probably the one thing she did take from this workshop.
Right? Oh my goodness.
I love that it said I seemed like I could be strategically important. We don't know yet. You're still kind of on this make-believe bubble, on this make-believe concept, but you might be. Who knows?
And you know, it's always good when you go to a workshop and then they tell you you're special. It's always a good sign you're getting involved in something great.
I mean, I can get that at a Green Day concert and enjoy myself. So whatever. Even if they don't mean it. At first glance, this moment kind of seems like a positive turning point, escaping an abusive academic relationship and joining a high intelligence community that values truth seeking. But it seems that for Ziz, attending this workshop wasn't just about gaining new skills. Say it ain't so. It was the beginning of a shift in ideological identity. Sefar's methods likely reinforced her natural tendency towards analytical thinking, which also provided a structured philosophical framework that emphasized the importance of being strategically important in shaping the future.
Mhm.
So this kind of aligns with a common rationalist mindset, which is understanding and controlling biases equals power. Thinking correctly equals responsibility to act. And then people who don't think this way equal less capable of seeing the truth. Now, for someone who is already inclined toward moral absolutism, this kind of framework easily could be taken to an extreme. And honestly, specifically that last point just reminds me of anything cult where they're like, we're separating you from everybody. If they don't understand, well, then they just can't see the truth. If
Exactly.
they can't fight for this. Yeah. So it immediately turns you against those folks.
It gives you some sort of self-importance and self-righteous. It's a recipe for only good things, of course. So what's funny is Ziz specifically credits Anna Salomon, the president of CFAR, and as we'll learn later on, one of Ziz's many arch nemesis. Okay, if you think one person have one arch nemesis is a lot. Not Ziz, lots of arch nemesis.
She's got nemesis.
Nemesis. I like what you did. Nemesis. Anyway, so she specifically credits Anna with helping her break free from the psychological control of an abusive thesis advisor. So this is significant for several reasons, I think. So it shows that Ziz saw herself as a victim, her favorite, of a controlling, oppressive figure, which would later shape how she viewed all authority figures, in my opinion. It also shows that the CFAR community provided a sense of rescue and empowerment, making it more likely that she would place deep trust in its teachings and leadership. And I mean, it says she's special, so of course. There's also the idea that she had been pawned, which, if you guys don't know what that means that you've been controlled or manipulated by someone. But so she has this idea that she had been pawned. That may have strengthened her belief that she was uniquely capable of recognizing and resisting manipulations because, of course, unlike others who remained pawned by social forces. The rationalist movements and AI ethics was a battle between forces of control and deception. So
I think, yeah, kind of like the puzzle piece that she was looking for. So, okay, question, point of clarification. Are we saying pawned or are we saying pwned? Because I thought it was pwned. Am I wrong?
I thought
Which
it's
one
pawned.
is it? I don't know.
I thought it was pwned, but
is it pwned? I don't know.
I've never said it before.
I always thought it was pawned.
Somebody's
like,
screaming elbow feet. Where's elbow feet? He knows.
I'll get the answer.
Oh, he's not watching.
Ooh. We've got a lot of folks here while we're wait. We're about to unmute ourselves.
Elbow feet says it's pwned. PWNED.
There's no A. Therefore, this made-up word has to be this way.
Okay, so today we learned that the word is pwned, and that's going to take away a lot of my jokes. Because see, I'm going to make an argument. Pause this story, okay? Pond makes sense because it's the least important piece in a chess game.
But like that implies that pwned came from the English language, and it really, I mean, it didn't. It came from gaming.
Well, I'm the worst millennial ever. I've used the internet before, you guys. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, so she got pwned, I guess. This is why you include vowels in words. This is why.
Well, I think it is like owned.
Oh.
But
okay. Well, okay.
Not that kind of gamer.
We solved that mystery. Nope. Anyway, so and let's get back to this story. Enough of that.
No, wait. Sorry. The equivalent of a gamer saying pwned is like me walking into a mall in a tap out shirt. Okay, now you can go.
Oh, that's embarrassing for you.
I've never done it. I'm just saying, like, that just feels like it's the equivalent.
Okay. Well, we've settled that debate, everybody. We both came here and learned something. Show's over. We're done. Anyway, so Anna's comment that Ziz seems strategically important, I think may have also planted the seed for a growing sense of self-importance and destiny. I mean, if the leader within CFAR, this new place that she's obsessed with, an organization that is filled with high IQ, world-altering thinkers, saw Ziz as significant, then she wasn't just an ordinary participant. You know, she was someone with the potential to change the course of history, of course.
What's crazy to me is that, like, there needed to be a very specific set of things to happen to someone at exactly the right time or age for a cult leader to emerge as this plant has on our screen. And yet, it happens so damn often.
So much.
I assume it's just because people can find meaning at the right time when they want to, and that's what leads people to do that. I don't know.
You know, so I think all of this could have really reinforced some ideas that later would like contribute to her radicalization. So we have like the first point. There's a strong personal mission. All right. So if she was strategically important, then her role in AI safety and ethics was crucial. All right. And then we have a justification for extreme actions. Okay. So if the world was truly at risk and she was one of the few who saw the problem clearly, then moral compromises were unacceptable because she's saving the freaking world. Okay. You do what you got to do at that point. Right. Right. And it gives her a disconnect from ordinary people. Right. So if she was chosen for something bigger, then those who didn't agree or understand her were simply not thinking on her level. So very similar to the bullet points we just saw earlier, right? Where
she does seem like somebody who'd be like, get on my level while making like the suck it sign. It seems like that's what would happen. That seems like Ziz would be that person.
So, you know, I think that this moment at CFR or CFAR, I don't know how they pronounce it. I don't know how anything is pronounced tonight. So I'm Terry for tonight. If you're watching, Terry, I'm channeling you. I hope I'm doing you proud. So anyway, I think this set Ziz on a path towards seeing herself as uniquely rational, uniquely ethical, and strategically necessary figure because somebody said so. And over time, as we will see, she is faced with rejection and alienation by her own accord, my own opinion, but whatever. She kind of did it to herself. And this concept of being special but unappreciated could have evolved into the belief that she was one of the only truly rational, truly ethical people left. A belief that probably later contributed to her cult-like leadership style, because that's pretty on brand.
Yeah, I mean, I think the unappreciation was probably that final piece in relation to her personality, ideological and personal identity, and a few other things, and that just kind of click and released into the like a dove in heat. I don't know what that is, but there you go.
She's special, you guys, and she will not be
I'm-
pwned.
Well, she's special because a woman or an organization she paid thousands of dollars to attend a workshop at said she was special. As a reminder.
Good point.
But in 2016, Ziz decided to move to San Francisco, both for a job and to be part of the rationalist movement. On her blog, she writes, "I came to the Bay Area because all the smartest people I knew said that there was a global emergency in the neglect of ethics and even care for the future by AI researchers."
Because you can't say that you moved there to live life frame by frame like they did in Full House. Whatever happened to predictability?
I mean, she would be about predictability now that I think about it.
She would. I'd go with Charmed, but anyway, if we're going San Francisco, classic television. Anyway, Ziz was ready to save the world, much like Charmed. But once she arrived in San Francisco, she ran into the reality of the tech world, which operated in ways she found deeply dishonest and exploitative. She expected to find a place where rational, truth-seeking individuals worked together towards the greater good, but instead she encountered startups that prioritize speed, profit, and social conformity over ethical principles. So like businesses.
Yeah. Turns out it's not easy saving the world. Oh my goodness.
Oh, look at that.
Marvel makes it so easy.
Yeah. Shouldn't the plot line thicken just about here? No? Okay, great. So in a short period of time, she had several jobs. And I want to read in her own words what happened with each of them and see if you can identify any patterns at all.
Let's go.
Now, the first startup, after other dishonesty, fired me after 4 days. I moved to the Bay for them because I said I couldn't implement a payment system for their game in 2 days, and because I walked out of the office after 8 hours of work. Then I found another job at another dishonest startup. I can't do that, which kept demanding that I work unpaid overtime, talking about other employees just always put 40 hours on their timesheet no matter what. And this exemplary employee over here worked 12 hours a day, and he really went the extra mile to get the job done. Real vibes that I'm getting right now. And they need me to really go the extra mile and get the job done. When I refused to work more than 40 hours a week, they did not renew my 3-month contract to work there, then offered by the job contracts designed to increase my pay per hour. In negotiating these, my manager lied that he had a constraint in how much to spend from HR. I asked HR. They said he had no such constraint. I confronted him about this and made a counteroffer based on my estimate about how much he'd gain from the software being done. He said he was no longer interested in contracting me. I used my technically still a grad student status to find a $15 or $20 an hour undergraduate summer project type job. Fuck you, Ziz, in exactly the technology I knew best. I negotiated with them, trying to convert it into a contract for the entire work, based on reasoning. People don't hire large numbers of undergraduate programmers to do real projects. I expect to be paid more, but I'm more efficient in product per hour. This grad student and professor running the project agreed and were happy with a sample of my work. It seemed I'd basically be making an average of $300 an hour at that rate, for a total of $7,000, I think, by the time that project was done, which I had hoped would be the start to my career as a freelancer. The professor described how to set it up so I'd be paid, and it required falsifying forms with the university to indicate I was working full-time. I turned down the gig. The student paid me for what I've done so far out of her own pocket, seemingly presuming the professor wouldn't. Stepping back for a second. So it was okay to cheat her out of money, or it wasn't okay to do that, but it was okay to allow the student to pay her despite knowing the student didn't have any money either. Rationality seems to work for the individual person and less for the world it purports to save.
So
$7,000 a project?
Sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good, and I'd falsify a document for that, but whatever.
Yeah,
Oh, you guys didn't tell me I was muted. Oh, jeez.
Lady in Gray said, she found capitalism.
Thank you. The channel is yelling at me that I was muted. I'm glad somebody's looking out for me. No, I just was quickly like, you ended up being $300 an hour when you were looking for a 15 to 20 an hour job. Like, what? That's just, okay.
The world is against her, clearly.
Yeah, exactly.
The world is a vampire. You ever you just grab like a handful of dirt and you just want to shove it in somebody's mouth and just make them chew it? Like, you all are going to feel like that this entire time.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's a lot of things that I do agree with her about here, right? Like, it's not okay for jobs to take advantage of your time and your money when they're not paying. Like, I totally agree with her about that. And, you know, if she decided to not have that job because that's her reasons, okay. But also, like, that is kind of jobs, though. You know, like, that's part of the real world, babe. Okay. Like, I don't know what job she had in mind, but I don't even know where that exists yet. So
I highly doubt that they changed a contract or had some. I highly doubt the fact that she refused to work 40 more hours or 40 hours or over that is the reason why they changed her situation, her work situation there. I have a feeling it was a lot more than that.
Oh, so. Me too. I mean, the first one, she talks about how, like, oh, what did she say? Oh, it was because she couldn't implement a payment system. And because I walked out of the office after 8 hours of work. My guess, when everybody's in the middle of a project and she just fucked off. Like, that's actually probably
option B.
like, but okay, girls, you sound off. I mean, again, I agree with her a lot of it, but okay.
It's not okay, but it is like a lot of entry level jobs, or a lot, you know, a lot of manufacturing, I guess, engineering. Anytime you're making something, there is a push to get that thing done.
Yeah.
So
some of us have been in the working world for 15 years and we're still looking for that amount. So
usually you work your way up to a work-life balance. I heard once. But...
So let's talk about this pattern. Did you guys in chat notice a pattern going on here? Because we did.
There is a pattern over these 3 jobs. First of all, Ziz refused to bend to workplace norms, whether unrealistic deadlines, unpaid overtime, or lying on documents. Each time, she challenged authority and was penalized for it. And instead of adjusting her approach, she doubled down on her convictions, seeing each rejection as further proof that the world was corrupt.
Man, she called every single one dishonest. Every single one dishonest. And like, okay, but
I hope she had a big old rubber stamp. And like she's just like, it's gonna make me feel better, and then she just pops it right on the exterior wall. So right. Dishonest. We've talked about this before, but like, many people face very similar workplace pressures every day, but usually they either strategically navigate the system or they push back in ways that don't lead to outright rejection. And I feel like I was given this part on purpose. Ziz, however,
maybe
seems incapable of playing along, even slightly. Instead of finding a balance between her principles workplace expectations, she treats every conflict as if it is an existential battle between truth and deception. Ha!
How exhausting.
That's exactly the word I was going to use.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to take it.
No,
Like,
it's that's going to be a word I'm going to think as long as we're reading quotes. So there's
yeah,
more quotes coming.
it's exhausting, you guys.
But so this is way back in 2016. This is all happening, and we're seeing Ziz's mindset shifting in a way that mirrors the early stages of cult leadership.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, red flags everywhere, you guys.
So we're seeing rigid morality. She sees honesty and ethics as absolute, with no room for compromise. We're seeing us versus them thinking, where the world is corrupt. Only a few good people can see the truth.
She's special.
She's very special. She paid to find out she was special. We're seeing
She's
alienation,
like everybody else.
She's alienated. She keeps losing jobs, burning bridges, and making it easier to see herself as the lone fighter for truth. And also charismatic rationalization. She doesn't just complain, she constructs detailed intellectual justifications for why she's right and others are wrong.
And boy, does she. And all of the words.
Excuses. Read excuses. Charismatic rationalization goes like this, and I quote, "So why can't you go to the concert? Because my father figure determined I hadn't excised enough dirt from my room." So you didn't clean it? Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, God.
This is it.
Oh, you guys.
Shakespeare's
it's going to get better. It's going to get so much better. That's about the only part. Those job things about the only part of the entire thing she wrote. And then I was like, yeah, okay, you got a point. That's it, you guys. So let's see. So not only was Ziza's career going to shit, her home life wasn't going great either. Now, the story we're about to tell, the only source I have for this story is Ziza's blog. And many cult leaders are known to craft these grand narratives about themselves. Oh boy, do they. Using personal suffering as a foundational myth to attract followers. Oh, the suffering. So how true all this really is, what we're about to tell you, I don't know. Because there are some, and everybody clapped moments in here that I don't think anybody clapped on. So we don't really know at all.
It's kind of Hercules.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy called. He wants it back.
Right. But so we're going to see that her mindset aligns with the traits of a developing cult leader, where personal conflicts become moral battles. Opposition becomes justification for retaliation. And those who violate their sense of justice are cast as irredeemable.
I told you this earlier, but I'm going to do it now because I know you love being praised while live. This is my favorite sentence of the last few years of scripts. Truly, I want it on a poster with either a penguin or a giraffe hanging in a severance office for my innie.
Well, thanks. That really encapsulates like Ziz as a whole. Like that's literally her whole thing. I just told you the whole story. Okay. But thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Okay, so let's get into this story. Are you guys ready for this? Because I don't know if you guys are. I just want to say I read all this stuff a long time ago, and I was like, "Am I the only one that thinks this is fucking nuts?" And then it took other people reading it.
At that point.
It was, and I was just like, "Is anybody else reading what I'm reading?" And then like I gave it to other people to read, and they came back with like the same thing that I was kind of taken away from this, and I was like, "Oh, okay," because wow, you guys. All right. So, prepare yourself. It's story time, everybody. So, my roommate landlord subletting to me fell on hard financial times and started getting pushy about rent, although I was following the terms of our contract and always paying on time. He wanted to change the contract to get him more money sooner. I had previously accepted something like this in exchange for some other concession. Now he wanted to do it again. I refused. He didn't take no for an answer and got angry at me for stonewalling him when I'd silently walked past him on the way into my room when he demanded this. Okay, guys. So everything we're about to hear, everything we're about to hear stems from the roommate landlord asking for an advance on the rent. Keep that in mind for this whole story. Dude just wants some money early, going through hard financial times, whatever. And it doesn't come across to me as this is like some shakedown, right? We've all had shitty roommates who you'd have to pick up we've all been there, okay? But this doesn't quite seem like that situation that she's trying to make it seem. It doesn't seem like that to me. But anyway. And no, Ziz, of course, is not obligated to give him additional rent. Like, it doesn't say that in the contract, and I agree. But I think it's interesting that apparently she had done it before, but that's when it also benefited her. She doesn't give a reason why she can't do it, or if she doesn't want to. I mean, granted, she doesn't have a job and is a broke bitch, but it's kind of weird. It's interesting how vague she is about these details when you'll see that she has no problem airing all of the dirty laundry about this guy, but doesn't want to let you know when she doesn't want to do that.
Someone just submitted their application for most oppressed tenant of the year. You're right. Ziz is not obligated to do it. You're right. However, the reaction to silently stonewalling him, like gliding past him like a Victorian widow mourning the loss of basic human interaction, the most like mature way to handle conflict is, as we know, handling financial decisions like they are haunted houses and an obstacle course. So like, it doesn't. Why?
Oh boy.
Well, I mean, to be fair, sometimes your financial situation is like a jump scare.
That's true. Well, for the landlord, I guess it was a jump scare, but I don't know. I think it's just so weird that she's just like,
it's so interesting too that like no one has. I feel like for most people like who have like serial killers and stuff, like who may have like rented a house from them or something like that, they're like, yeah, he rented here, they rented here. Nobody has been like, yeah, she was here.
Nobody has said that.
Nobody wants to be connected to it. I don't care if I end up getting a spot on like the California like tour of serial killers. I don't care. I don't want it. It's not worth it.
That is very true. Okay, so let's continue on with her writing, shall we? Towards this time, the bathroom, which I don't know how to lock, and he kept walking in on me, was more often than not full of waste on the floor from his neglected dogs. Arriving home on the way to lock myself in my bedroom, I once walked past him in the living room, masturbating. I don't know why there, since he had his own room. I guess he wanted to use his big screen TV. You guys. All right. So I like how immediately she was the picture. I love that. Oh my gosh, that picture is so funny. That blurred out bar is pretty big.
Yeah, but it was for Orlando Bloom too.
So I like how immediately she was like, if in any way you feel sorry for this guy or think that Ziz is being a dramatic asshole. Don't think that, because this guy is morally repugnant. All right. Walking in on other people using the bathroom, which literally happens in my house all the time. That's just what happens when you live with a bunch of people. Dog feces all over the bathroom because he's a POS pet owner, which I get. The animals are not Ziz's to take care of and not her responsibility. Totally get that. But for someone who is so diehard about animal welfare and rights to the point that we're flesh-eating monster Nazis, you would think this neglect would inspire her to, I don't know, do something about it to help the animals out at the very least. And if you thought this guy wasn't bad enough, look at this pervert spilling his lineage all over the living room. That line was from my fellow Severance fans. They'll get it. If you know, you know. I mean, is that the best place to be doing that? No. Okay. It's not. But she said she had just arrived home. Okay. Like, I think this guy thought he had the house to himself, having a little gentleman time. And then she just comes. She doesn't say it happens all the time. If this guy was doing this all the time, I feel like she would let us know that this is some just flipping it out all over the place. So I think the only reason she brings any of this up is to demean him, to shame him, and humiliate him. And by the way, she does fully name drop this guy in the thing. Like, she wants people to fucking know about this guy because he asked for an advance in her rent. Anyway.
I mean, the bathroom, she didn't know how to. Is she unfamiliar with doors simply because, like, she always has her mind unlocked? Like, did she need a detailed PowerPoint on how to engage a basic locking mechanism without using your lizard brain before she took action?
Yes.
Of course, despite not being able to operate the latch, she still had the time and ability to locate every microscopic offense. And yes, listen, I mean, the home theater experience, that stinks. That's shitty. But it was really obvious.
Look at that
4D.
base.
It was 4D.
4D. Oh, that's a gangbang, JT.
Okay. I just was like, things in your face is what I was going with there, but that's fine too. That works.
That's the same.
Oh, well, we all have learned something new today. I was just pawned. But it was really obvious. It was really obvious that she was logging it into her ever-growing book of perceived injustices, right between he gave me a dirty look and the Marauders map. Now, I know that this guy sounds like a disaster of a human, and maybe and probably he was. But instead of whining about it, and if this was a movie, I wouldn't know whether to root for you or tell you to grow a spine, learn how locks work, and develop some basic conflict resolution skills. One of the two, go Goodwill Hunting, get out.
Sorry, hold on. Before we move on, Sam's comment, I guess she didn't ask for the handshake on request. That's a Severance joke. If you guys haven't watched Severance, we don't get paid by this show, but it's amazing. Go watch it. It's on Apple TV. And I'm always available.
Apple's more than welcome to pay us, as is Adam Scott.
I am always welcome to talk about it. Always. Love it. Anyway. Oh, continue on. Let's get back to this.
Well, something to build on something JT said, her lack of understanding on how doors work. I like not only that, but the dogs are only going in the bathroom. So this kind of is implying to me that, like, the dogs get how the door works better than she does. Or, at least where to go. If they can't go outside, they're going in the right room. Like, that says something. Get these dogs in your fleet.
The dogs are like, dude, there's a bathroom right there. Get out from the, like, I understand wanting to see things on a a 40-inch TV, which you consider a home theater. However, I mean, at least it was hardwood. Seems like.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that was
That's
good.
what she said. So to continue reading from the book of Ziz,
Yes.
He had an unpaid nanny for housing to take care of his son. News to us.
Yeah.
She lived on the couch toward the end. She started a conversation with me, asked about my bike, said she had ridden one as a child, but now suspected she couldn't. I let her borrow it to demonstrate that riding a bike was like riding a bike.
Oh my
It
goodness.
was. He got very upset over this, saying he saw me playing footsie with his girlfriend. When I showed her this text, she denied being in any romantic relationship with him.
Oh my goodness. All right, guys. So
there's a kid. There's a kid in this house now.
I keep hitting my desk. I'm so sorry if that's loud for you guys. I am just very passionate. So I'm sorry if I don't know until I watch it back the next day how loud my desk and keyboard are. And then I was like, oh, that's why. Anyway, okay. So first of all, the unpaid nanny for housing sounds to me like she was in fact being paid in the form of room and board. Like you're just making this guy seem like he's just taking advantage of this person. But if they're a nanny for house, oh, sure it says. Okay, girl, you got it. Okay. And this guy has a son. It's interesting you bring up the kid now, Ziz. So Ziz calls the dogs neglected, but nothing about the feces covered bathroom being horrible for a child to live in. Nothing about that. One also has to wonder how, now we know 3 grown-ass adults lived in this house and nobody's taking out the dogs. None of them. Nobody's taking out the animals in this situation. It just seems a little fantastical to me. And she also says that the nanny is sleeping on the couch. Remember, she's nanny for housing. So she had a bedroom before. I'm going to go with the bedroom was with the roommate landlord. And clearly there was something going on there. Their business, nobody else's. And I don't think that situation's going well anymore, right? So I feel like Ziz is taking advantage of whatever's going on there to like manipulate and stirring up shit to retaliate this guy for, again, asking for if she could pay rent in advance.
In the words of Owen Wilson, wow. Like, this is like a Hall of Fame disaster. I mean, like, was the women scrubbing the chimney and sewing socks by candlelight? If your childcare arrangement sounds like a Dickens novel, you might be the villain. I don't know. I mean, this is the thing. Pick one of these routes, and it's much more believable to me. Far be it from me saying it wasn't shitty, but insert side eye emoji here. Like, I feel like the fact that this was mediated communication, and Ziz at the moment was probably pretty charismatic with people, but not great without something right in front of her. Plus, I think it just was, she was going way too, what I'm saying is pick a lane, stay in it, and it's more believable. Don't try to take the entire LA freeway.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and her like sharing the text, you only do that when you're trying to start up shit, girl. Okay? We know this game. We've been there. I've been there. Okay.
Also, like, when this was written, I knew I felt like a breeze because at the time when it was written that like riding a bike it was, she was patting herself just it's so witty. I'm so witty and funny.
I'm so witty. I'm so witty. Look at how such a nice person I am doing this simple, mundane thing. I am not a bad person. I taught this person how to ride a bike. Ugh.
Where's my burn book? Where's the book?
Girl. Okay. Anyway, let's go back.
Not surprisingly, things are going to start to escalate here. So to quote Ziz again,
escalate.
Things are escalating.
Definitely
all over
escalated.
Television. So to quote Ziz, he tried to block my exit from the house once, demanding that I pay him more rent up front. Said if I wanted to leave, to refund my deposit. He said, sure, and later said he wanted me to leave earlier because he's found a tenant who demanded a specific start date. I said, refund my deposit, which the contract said was convertible to the last month's rent if not repaid first. Then I'd go.
Yeah. Why did she put rent in quotation marks? By the way, she put those quotation marks, everybody. We transcribed this verbatim. Now it's rent.
Why does she any of this? Why does she change tenses?
Why does she stop?
Like sometimes when we're reading this, I think it is specifically to keep people like us on our toes when we read it out loud.
Yes. I'm so glad as other people were reading this after me, because I was like, am I crazy? Am I stupid? What is happening here? Like,
as I was reading this and some of it today, I was just in another room, still adjoined, and it was little Bruce Crime's birthday day, and I was like, and he was like, Dad, are you okay? Don't be angry. It's my birthday. And I'm like, dude, sit down. Let me read you a story. No, I didn't do that. But like, it's just like,
this is very German fairy tale story, by the way.
Yes.
Have you read those?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we talk about the really, really, extensive and strong wave. Very, very German fairy tale. Okay, so coming home from ARC. Maybe
we're back into the reading, by the way.
Home from ARC, yeah, I saw outside he had destroyed one of my possessions. I called the cops on him. They did nothing and were upset at me disturbing him.
Notice she doesn't say what was destroyed. Okay? I mean, it pissed her off enough to call the cops, apparently. But she's not going to tell the whole world what it is. She's going to tell the whole world about everything else, but not this part. I think that's interesting. And I'm just saying it's weird for someone who used all of the words in this blog post. All of them. All the words you can think of she used. But she's not going to tell us what was destroyed. I have my suspicions, is all I'm saying.
It's like he was masturbating to Wicked in his living room. And then he destroyed one of my possessions. Which possession?
It was enough for me to call the cops, but you can't know about it. Jeez.
Oh my God. Okay.
Oh.
So
anyway,
he then blocked my entrance and said I'd really crossed a line by calling the cops, and I had to leave immediately. I tried to walk around him. Yes.
Sorry, real quick. I see in chat here it's Bacon Bit's birthday today. Sorry to pause this story, but Bacon Bit is one of our lovely viewers. I don't know if she's watching, but happy birthday to you, Bacon Bit. I think she's an adult now. But I think it's like a big birthday is what I mean. Like, I think it's her big one. So happy birthday, Bacon Bit. And Shanka, if you're watching, we miss you. So
happy birthday, BB.
Happy birthday to Lady in Gray's aunt, who's 94.
Oh, and the Lady in Gray's aunt. Yeah, 94.
She's lived through some shit and continues to live through some shit.
That's amazing. Anyway, okay.
All right, so
sorry, guys.
So Ziz says, tried to walk around him. He got in front of me. I tried to walk around again. Eventually, we bumped into each other. He called the cops on me for assault. With the cops there, I was able to get inside my room and locked myself in.
Oh,
He started pounding on my door, promising to give me hell until I left. He kept pounding and pounding. He could have been in the living room in front of his big screen TV. Who would know? The breaker box was in my room. I turned some breakers off. He got madder and started pounding louder. Me too, if all of a sudden my porn was gone. He would not negotiate to cease his assault. It was well past midnight. He had been pounding for about 2 hours, maybe. He probably needs to see a doctor. I put in earplugs and lay down in my bed. Just as I was falling asleep anyway from sheer exhaustion, he kicked my door down, knocking a table with some of my stuff on it over.
Oh my goodness.
Picked up my chair and threw it at me as I was sitting up. It only hit my raised arm, bruising it. I called the cops. With them on the phone. He stopped his attack after turning on the breakers.
By the way, if you're just listening to us, you should know that we are physically reenacting the story for you guys. No. So I'm going to tell you all right now. All right. You come into my house. You turn my breakers off. I am busting down.
You come into
your
my house.
Mother effing door. Okay. I got news for you. I don't care how it makes me look, but I am turning off those breakers. And especially if my kid is at home and you turn off those breakers, I am busting down your mofo door. Okay. And, but we're at the point that she's turning off these breakers, it is petty Betty as shit. Okay.
Petty Betty.
Like petty Betty as shit that you're turning these breakers off. And then you're going to act all fucking shocked Pikachu that somebody busts down your door to turn on the electricity to go take a shit in the bathroom because you spoiled all the food in the fridge. Like, what?
She turned off his quarter coin operated vibrating recliner and the big screen TV.
Like, in my opinion, she escalated this situation. She took this situation. She was like, we're at 10. I'm going to 20 by turning off this breaker.
Probably never even happened.
No, it probably. Oh, and then I finally went to sleep because of sheer exhaustion. Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, she escalated it when she called the cops the first time. But also, breaker box, I hardly know her.
I love that.
But did you need to? No, I'm just kidding.
Let's see how this goes.
Oh, yes, let's see how this turns out.
Because
the
she
cop
turned
that
off the
talked to me was angry for wasting the cop's times. I like it how the cop was angry. I imagine the cop saying, "You're wasting the cop's times." Since I couldn't prove any of this, if he assaulted me, then where was a visible injury? He angrily asked if I had turned off the breaker. That was domestic mischief, and I could face charges for that. I remained silent. He demanded to know if I was remaining silent, because if I was exercising my right to remain silent, then that was an admission that speaking would incriminate me. And that meant I was guilty. It's not how it works, honey.
That is not how an officer would say that at all. By the way, you're guilty. Now, granted, they would use probably some techniques to be like, "Oh, you're not saying anything, so you must be sure." I'll get them that.
Ziz, I've got a 5-day workshop that will make you feel so good about yourself, and it will teach you about true crime and what cops say and don't say. And I also have an igloo to sell you.
It just sounds so not true, but okay.
So, she fell silent. He said they weren't social services. People were dying out there, and I was distracting them. I said, sorry in a weak voice. He gave me some kind of warning not to call them again. Soon after I saw my roommate, he was acting all chummy, said, "Nice one," with the breaker box. This is incredible in all the wrong ways. Just all... okay. He picked up a chair and flung it at you and only like hit your raised hand. What are you, fucking Hulk? I think
it's probably one of those plastic yard chairs, you know.
Fair.
I mean, the guy stopped after he got in the room because he just want to turn on the fucking breaker, not fight you and assault you. Like, get the fuck out of here. I said sorry in a weak voice. Oh, fuck off with your bullshit, Sis. All right, I'm going to say it. If you're listening to this, go fuck yourself. No.
I don't think the breaker thing's real. I think what she did was she went to her room, laid down, and fell asleep. I think that's what happened. I don't think the breaker thing happened.
No, I do think the breaker
thing. She seems more that person that's like thinking up a bunch of like comebacks if somebody ever made fun of her, and then like somebody makes fun of her and she goes, "No," or "Your mom," and then thinks of a billion better ones afterwards. Like, that's just how she seems.
No, I very much think she turned off this breaker box. I think but she's so petty, as you'll see from many of the things she lays out. You'll be like, oh yeah, that checks out. This sounds like her. I just, again, you guys, she wants everyone to hate on this guy. Okay. Look at him. He's a fucking pervert who lets his dog shit everywhere. He busts into rooms and throws things at people. The cops are on his side. And by the way, she is 24, 25 fucking years old.
You just turned into like an 80-year-old Karen from Will and Grace, and I don't know how you did it, but I appreciate it.
I don't either, but I mean, if I didn't know better, all right, I would seriously think we were reading something from like a 15 to 16-year-old here. Like, all of these responses are somebody who is incredibly emotionally immature here. Like, it's just crazy. She's, oh, I didn't know I was doing bad. The cops said you were arrested for a crime, honey. You could be. They weren't wrong. But anyway, I don't know what that means. But okay. So what does Ziz do next? I don't know, guys. Let's find out. So, quote, I called my friend Kara and told her what happened. She offered a place to stay temporarily, giving her room temporarily in a shared rationalist house. So we're not saying it's the full house as we have on screen, but we're going to just assume all these rational houses is the full house because we're in San Francisco.
Uncle Joey
so
is most assuredly a rationalist.
Okay. Okay. So her friend Kara gives her the room. She says, I took it, came back the next day, got my stuff, talked to the nanny who had heard all of this happening from the couch. So that bitch was in the dark too, because she turned off the breaker. I'm sure she was so happy and on your side, Ziz, for that 2.5 hour stunt you pulled by turning the lights off. Okay. I told her what happened. She said Michael, the roommate, had also taken money from her on false pretenses. Okay. She said she had nowhere else to go. I asked if she had parents. What a weird thing to ask. She said she did, but wasn't on great terms with them. Mentioned was on better terms with her father, but he lived in... Ziz redacted this. Forget the roommate's name. She's not going to redact, but she will redact these parents' names for us. So, in case you want to. I asked if he could really be worse than Michael, quote, you're my girlfriend, whether you know it or not, end quote, Zamansky. I said if it was a fucking domestic abuse situation, there was a good chance he'd buy her a plane ticket and get her the hell out. She did. he did. Okay. Pause there for a second over what Ziz has to fucking say here. Sorry, I don't mean to drop the F word so much, but as I warned you all, there would be snark. Okay, because Ziz brings out the snark in me. So, talks to the nanny, explains everything to her. She was there. She was there to see it all, apparently. Like, what do you have to explain? But okay. But the fact that Ziz says, I said, if it was a fucking domestic abuse situation, there was a good chance he'd buy her a plane ticket. To me, that sounds like Ziz is saying, if you make up that Michael is beating you or hurting you in some way, your daddy will send you home. So just tell him that, because take the victim complex and it'll get you somewhere. Because she never said anything about witnessing anything happening to this sweet nanny. And now we find ourselves in a domestic abuse situation that Ziz is going to save her from. You guys?
Oh. I feel like Ziz could sneeze and get her victim complex over everybody. And just everybody all of a sudden just feels the need for...
Well, and then she ends that paragraph. She ends it with, she did, he did, implying that, look, people listen to me. They follow my advice and my suggestions when I'm trying to save them. Look at what I've done. I mean, the reason I wanted to bring this story of their roommate is because you really see how very early on she is manipulating and moving people and putting them against, and girl.
Hold on, because she's not done with the landlord.
She's definitely not done with the landlord. No, she's got some vengeance to have. So she continues writing. She introduced me to the neighbor who was an enemy of Michael and had heard him do the same sort of thing with multiple previous sublet tenants. She told more stories, including of him putting his fingers into his son's throat to get him to stop crying. The neighbor offered me a bed to stay in and some marijuana to smoke. I declined.
Oh. How rude.
How rude.
It is rude to decline when somebody is offering you weed. It's freaking rude.
Yeah.
She really should have taken some to chill out. But
I think she would have. We wouldn't be in this situation. The finger down the throat parenting technique. Because, like, when you want to be a nurturing father figure, waterboard your own kid with his own gag reflex. I'm not truly joking about it because that's terrible. I don't even know if I can believe it happening coming from Ziz. And not only that, but according to Ziz, this guy was carrying more red flags than a bullfighting championship during a communist parade. So I don't know anymore. I'm done.
Well, listen, the neighbor saw this abuse. Ziz lived with this guy. The nanny lived with this guy. There's a kid there. You don't hear Ziz or the nanny saying about any weird shit they've seen being done. But this neighbor that Ziz didn't even know that the nanny introduced him to saw this happening. I have, in fact, stuffed my fingers into my child's throat to get him from choking on something. I don't know how old this kid is, so maybe that's not fair for me to just assume. But no, like, if you have small, that's not a thing. Like, they're
sweet.
Like,
it's sweet.
Yeah, like, it's not that weird. Like, and why would you do that to get somebody to stop crying? That doesn't even make any sense why you would do that. But, the neighbor offering a bed and offering her a wonderful place to stay because she's such a good person. People can trust her to let her into their house. Share drugs.
But she didn't stop and offered me a bed. She had to add free marijuana. We just have to go one step further all the time, every time.
But she didn't take it. She didn't take it, you guys.
No.
Just to let you know. Anyway.
Of course not.
So, let's continue on. What does Ziz do next? Okay. Quote, We plotted to simultaneously report him to basically everyone. I called my mom, who was a school counselor with strong opinions on the flight of children in poverty. She said foster care was probably better than that. We all had reports to make to CPS. We called the landlord, which I thought the roommate was the landlord, but okay. The nanny reported him for driving drunk to Uber. I went to the police again, showed them my bruise, and they still said I couldn't prove anything. You guys.
The bruise was the size of her own hand. It just
like, again, this guy, the whole story, remember, the whole story started because the landlord just asked for an advance on the rent. Okay. Wasn't asking to pay extra bills, wasn't just advance on rent. And now you've told the whole world all this stuff. You want to ruin his fucking life by calling CPS, which is a big deal. Like, I have a very big problem with people that call CPS on this bullshit feuds that they have with people. It's disgusting, and I have no respect for you when you do that. Because if Ziz was very concerned about this child's safety, she would have done it a long fucking time ago, not when she was just pissed off at his dad because she's being a petty little bitch. Okay? I do not believe this is genuine for 1 second. And when you get out of jail,
you're being way too rationalist
you can
about this.
email me. What's that? Oh, is that too
I said
rational?
you're being way too rational about this.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And so she has went and recruited this guy's other roommate, the nanny, the neighbor. She's gathering fucking people to ruin this dude's life. They ruined his job by accusing him of, well, we don't know if he lost the job, but their attempts to have him lose his kid, have him lose his job, for what? What happened to do this to this guy? Salt with a side of lava. Mm-hmm. I know. I'm so feisty, you guys. I warned you. I did warn you that I was going to be snarky.
It didn't end how she had thought it would, how she had planned, apparently, how it would. Quote, I thought I had a deontological obligation not to let him profit by aggression meant to drive me out of my home for resources. I wondered if this was enough. I felt like maybe I was deontologically obligated to stay there, but fuck. The door didn't really close animore. There was a hole in it. I heard he got him back. I considered whether to show
Cut it out.
God damn it.
I love that.
You can't put a video in front of an ADHD guy and expect him to still read a script. The door didn't close anymore. There was a hole in it. I heard he got him back. I considered whether to show up at fuck o'clock in the morning and put something in his car's gas tank to destroy it. By the way, somebody, listen, if you know when fuck o'clock is, let me know. Murphy Jitsu. Bring a charged cordless drill to create a hole if it was one of those gas tank caps that locked, and actually look up what things will destroy the engine. But I decided to leave this as a story that I could tell. Up until writing this, I never gave him any further indication it was me who caused it. Murphy Jitsu is, it's the practice of strengthening plans by repeatedly envisioning and defending against failure modes until you would be shocked to see if it fail. Okay, so everybody, quick, make a plan. Then imagine that you've passed the deadline and find out that plan failed. Now, if you're shocked in the scenario, you're done. Otherwise, simulate the most likely failure mode, defend against it, and repeat. If that made sense to any of you, get the fuck out of here right now.
What even just is that mean?
Leave my presence, my digital presence. That makes no fucking sense. I don't know who Murphy is. I don't know who Jits is Sue. But honestly, what she was thinking about doing with the gas tank, that would have been a better ending. So maybe.
I mean, like, here's the thing, right? Is like, so calling CPS wasn't enough for her. Getting this guy's job, trying to get this job taken away, not good enough for her. She's thinking about fucking destroying his car, but then it's like, you know what? I didn't do that, guys, because I thought that telling you this story was the best thing to do. What?
This also further supports the theory that she doesn't understand how doors work, but she's going to drill a hole into a gas tank. So,
yes.
How do
Right, I like how she gives instructions too.
Yeah, Murphy Jitsu that.
I
She's
always
like
bring
the
a
fucking
cordless
Alice
drill.
in Wonderland of regular doors. Like, I just don't bigger, smaller, to eat me, drink me. I don't know. Whatever.
I never gave him any further indication it was me who caused it. I think he probably knows Ziz. He fucking told everybody.
She
So
sounds
okay.
very subtle. If nothing else, she sounds very subtle.
Super subtle.
Super subtle. Super.
So, you know, in a short period of time, Ziz has found herself both jobless and homeless.
It's going great.
She did manage to find a few places to stay while applying to a lot of housing sublets on Craigslist.
For sure.
But none of it was going well. Well, you know what? That house is perfect for Ziz because I don't think it has a door from where I can see.
It doesn't have a door, you're right.
Go in the window.
It's perfect. Doors are hard, you guys.
Doors are so hard. I mean, listen, that's your problem. Like finding places to live on Craigslist, it's like speed dating with potential slumlords. See, kids, children, Craigslist was like a flea market run by cryptids. Like, you might find a great deal, or you might end up renting a basement from a guy who insists you call him the Night Wizard. It could be either or.
Or
who
the
knows?
Sea Org.
I'd rather the Night Wizard.
That's right, yeah. I choose Night Wizard.
Night Wizard sounds like it comes with burritos, like frozen burritos. Seamorg sounds like a plant's gonna eat me, but
Night Wizard does sound like he might like the big screen experience.
For some really awkward shit. Yep.
So Ziz continues to write. As I was introduced to Liminal as a non-transitioning trans woman, one of the residents, who posts pretty extreme anti-trans woman stuff on Facebook, looked at me with something like disgust and asked when I'd be leaving. I was unable to find housing on Craigslist. Someone said I could sublet if I wanted, then that fell through after they saw me in person. And while I am sure that that kind of discrimination is incredibly real, it's also pretty possible that people seeking roommates would prefer them to have a source of income and not use words like deontological.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of feels like she's just like, now I have nowhere to go.
You don't get paid by syllable, ma'am.
I mean,
I can't
even
it's gonna be $300 a word.
Everybody's discriminating against her, even fellow trans people, which again, if that's real, that's horrible. That's what's so hard about all of this blog. Is there's like seeds of reality in this that happen to people all the time, and it is awful. But everything together with this, with her, with, like Lama said, the timing of events, it just doesn't ring true.
Well, that
it
need
rings
to
victim
well,
and
and like
vengeance.
What you're saying, I mean, I totally agree with. And what's interesting is typically the cult leader will create this backstory as it's needed. But Ziz did present as intelligent enough to think far enough ahead to be like, I'm going to create this now. And then later, when I need to harken back to it, it will be time and date stamped as it's something I didn't just all of a sudden make up.
Yeah.
It just seems to check out, you know, that this is a, I don't know, this is a person leading their people to the promised land story. You know what I mean? So yeah, you're totally right. Absolutely.
And it may come across weird that, especially laughing over here and making jokes, like, yeah, a lot of people in these scenarios, we probably wouldn't laugh at. I know the whole story. Okay. That's the only reason why we're here making jokes today, is because
Correct.
it doesn't check out. Okay. If this was all happening, like, it doesn't check out, you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And you'll see these patterns. Like, the whole reason to tell you guys all this now is because you are going to see with other people she interacts with, the same things are happening, right? Because that's what you have to establish, is the pattern of behavior here. And so that's what we're doing tonight. So the next part, it's unclear whether she was staying, where she was staying, excuse me, when this took place. But that's really irrelevant to where she is, as it's more about her thought process here. So she has this to say. I cleaned up the basement, full of toys everywhere, belonging to the cis sexists left out long enough to induce learned helplessness, to make the other housemates feel happy with me and remind them that they were unhappy with her. I had to stop myself from sorting them, reminding myself my intent was of pure niceness. What?
I'm getting like a vague blend of Mary Poppins and the Sorting Hat. I don't know. Or that works. R.I.P. That works though.
I mean, she's already pointing out, like, I'm going to do things to get other people to have problems with so-and-so. Like, she's already, this is her second living situation where she openly says, I want other people to think good of me, but bad of this other person. It's crazy.
Right. And in an attempt to save money, which is funny because that's not funny. The funny part is the second part of the sentence, because they don't go together. In an attempt to save money, Ziz began booking Airbnbs for 1 or 2 months max, and would start moving farther from the rationalist parts of the Bay Area. In an attempt to, I think I just like wigged out a little bit there. Her job search still wasn't going well, mostly because Ziz was too honest and not PWN would be pawn, but maybe it's a pwn. Who knows?
Since none of this story makes sense, I think we should just go with pawn, because none of this makes sense anyway.
Not a pawn. I mean, like,
they make up their own words. Why can't they make up ours?
Pwn or pawn, if I had a dime for every time I said that exact sentence, I'd have 1 dime. Just one dime. I could not imagine honestly saying that ever. So let's go a little more into this career situation. At a rationalist party, I asked a friend from meetups who worked at Google if she knew why my application I made about 8 months earlier in the year never got a response. She said she would look into it. I got an email from Google saying they wanted to interview me, that there would be a series of interviews, and if I passed them all, I'd have my case sent to the committee, and then if I passed that, I'd be hired. I also applied to other big tech companies, finding an acquaintance to give me a referral, but I never got a response. I was running out of money quickly from Airbnbs. The process dragged on while I spent most of my time applying to startups, and then getting rejected sometimes at the last minute when they asked what other companies I was applying to, and I answered honestly that it included Google. They said they couldn't compete with them in salary. They were basically all looking for clueless people who would believe they had a good chance of becoming rich from equity, when the terms of the equity contracts were, to put it mildly, completely exploitative and deceptive, and not really a guarantee of anything. They were equity options during funding rounds. They could be reduced in value arbitrarily. Only the sense of niceness of sociopaths to ensure their value. They would all be unvestable if you didn't work there long enough often. And these startups were all obviously not the next Google. Don't get the misimpression that I was so scrupulous as to use scrupulous in a sentence. No, as to as to convey an accurate impression of who I was and what I wanted out of life. I thought I could get away with not outright lying. Perhaps I came off as evasive. They were all asking after answers like I always wanted to work in a company like this. I just love work so much I don't even care about money, not the intrinsic technical challenges. I love above anything else I could do with my life contributing to this team and doing interpretive labor. This startup seems irreplaceable, and I'd never go someplace else. I want to grow old with this company. I want to grow old with you. I was inexperienced with convincing body language, inclusive lies like this. I did not have the right false face. But very quick to think up words to say. I have some thoughts. So I'm going to rant for a moment. First, what an absolute roller coaster of self-importance and victimhood, with a strong finish of blaming everyone else for her complete lack of self-awareness. Now let's break this delusion down. First, who asks about their rejected job application at a rationality party? Everyone's around discussing game theory and the optimal way to microwave soup. And Ziz is out here cornering some poor Google employee saying, "Hey, so did you ghost me, or is the algorithm just allergic to my genius?" Just because startups and other companies aren't handing out golden thrones and unlimited stock options to random people who have never really worked and sneer at their business models while begging for a paycheck doesn't mean she's the smart one. The companies are looking for clueless people who believe in equity. Yeah. And her, who's the person out job hopping on a trust fund Airbnb tour, who thought she was going to be the next Silicon Valley messiah. My favorite part is that she straight up admits she bombed interviews because she couldn't figure out how to fake enthusiasm properly. Didn't have the right false face? No kidding. Who wants to hire a walking Reddit thread on why capitalism is a scam? No thanks. I have never seen someone so bad at playing the game while also acting like they're above it. She wasn't rejected. She was refused. She just refused to grovel properly. And no, it's everyone else's fault that she's broke. Girl with a U. Maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't the startups, the recruiters, or the contracts. Maybe it's the unrelenting cloud of entitlement and superiority you carry like a limited edition cologne made from the extract of Diddy baby oil called failure and smugness. And I now get off of my soapbox and
and he took himself off. No, I think he's going for a bathroom break. He is not wrong. We all have our rants about Ziz, and I mean, JT pretty much nailed it there.
Yeah.
What do you expect, girl?
This is what an interview is. There is always the balance of presenting yourself accurately, but also as this perfect hire, and trying to vibe out, okay, well, how are we actually, how is this actually going to go? But to go on multiple interviews where you drop in Google gets you booted from the interview, more or less, and you keep doing it. It's this is the point of interviews, is to learn.
Yeah. And to think that You don't have to play like everybody has to play the game. Okay.
It's
Nobody
work.
likes it.
Yeah.
Nobody likes it, right? But
To make
like,
money for a reason.
and you know what's crazy is like she has only been here in San Francisco for like 3 months, you guys. Like brand new to San Francisco. She has no job. Her housing is now it just 3 months, just all falls apart very quickly. Very quickly.
So I got real excited. Thought I was in front of my big screen TV.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, things are about to get exciting because we're about to meet a new character in this saga.
Oh, yes.
At a rationalist meetup in October 2016, Ziz met Gwen Danielson, the Kimmy Gibbler to her DJ Tanner.
It's so true, you guys. It's so true. You don't even know. You don't even know.
As you go.
Gwen graduated high school in Spokane, Washington. And much like Ziz, she had a few years of interacting with online rationalist communities and Miri and Sefar before she left behind a full scholarship to Rice University, where she was researching the ethical development of artificial intelligence, and moved to San Francisco with the idea that she too was going to help save the world.
Oh, wow.
Gwen writes in her own blog, because of course, I did this for about 2 years before deciding to move to the Bay in order to figure out what was the problem that I had the most relative advantage to solve and to have tighter feedback loops interacting with people working on AI safety research. I optimized as though I was a part of a polity of people working to save the world.
Oh, look at that. Our second Murray Sefar person who is wanting to save the world, you guys. What? Wow.
She's going to stop researching AI. Sorry. She's going to give up on
like
researching
investing
AI
in
to
their
save the world.
schooling,
right?
And like living conditions and things. These parents should have just invested in like a locked journal that they could write in, and I feel like we would have saved a whole bunch of time.
A whole bunch of time.
Just saying.
I mean,
school.
Here's Gwen, the fourth person that we're in depth to here, and she too, highly educated, full ride to a university, and she's just another one that's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go to San Francisco and save the fucking world. Like, you guys, I can't wait
if you
till
would
we
have
get
told
to
me
this.
San Francisco was the place where you go to save the fucking world, I would say no.
Well, I mean, that was the hub in the 60s and 70s. It didn't play out very well. Like, people are still falling
They got
for
themselves a bridge.
Cool bridge. All right. So Gwen moved to the Bay Area in August of 2016. One of the biggest problems she noticed was the elevated rent situation and the harm of that on people like her. Now, I will say, as a side note, I have frequented the Bay Area subreddit because I was like, well, what is people like there? Turns out their rent problem is ridiculous, you guys. They're not out of, they are not wrong in the fact that it is atrocious rent problems in that city. So like, I don't want you to think that like they're wrong about this. Like, it is a very, very big problem living there. But let's read some more from Gwen's blog here. This is Gwen's writing. Quote, I have seen many others' living conditions decay to near homelessness. Even the most functional group houses I visited are overpacked with people in tiny spaces, often multiple people to a room, sometimes rooms made from putting curtains in what are designed as common areas and filled with clutter. Other group houses I visited look like homeless camps. Most of the Bay Area rationalists I met appear abnormally traumatized and not healing. Most of the people I observe are trans. Maybe it's different for others. Our I cannot say this word to save my life. Cis-sexist community pushes us to the bottom, pushes us towards logistical and emotional hell. The rationality community, for all that it promises, is the same as everywhere else. And Gwen is not wrong.
No,
You know?
that's the thing. No, like for instance, in 2013 to 2014, we lived in an apartment that was 1,000 square feet, about $1,000, right? And it has been 12 years, and it's gone up $1,000 a month. That's ridiculous, and that's Richmond. That's not San Francisco. I'm sure it's 10 times worse in San Francisco. I have no doubt. It's gross. It's gross.
It is so gross. And I just want to point out the difference. We just read a short blurb from Gwen's blog. It is very different than Ziz's blog. You notice how Gwen cares about other people and about actually solving something? What a difference in those two blogs there. So
Gwen's housing situation for herself anyway was to buy and live on a sailboat in the, is it Encinal? Encinal?
That's what
that sounds dirty.
Encinal. I looked it up.
Okay.
Encinal. Thank you for looking it up because it keeps me from saying Encinal.
I thought it was
Encinal. Yeah. Wanted to buy and live on a sailboat in the Encinal Basin. Now, Ziz wrote about her and Gwen's first encounter in her blog because, of course, she did. And I'm going to be honest, there's a lot to unpack here. Like, a lot. Like, you know that person who ends up packing for like a month when they're going away for 2 days? There's a lot to unpack here. And I quote, in October, I talked to someone introducing themselves as Jasper Gwen at a meetup in some sort of confusion over whether they were a trans woman. I talked it over with them and also talked about the contents of this blog, which they seemed pretty interested in. They had internal coherence problems and a lot of mental arts that seemed based on hacks, based on, quote, shut up and do the impossible.
I love how Ziz wants you to know that she talked to Gwen about her blog and they talked about a lot. Just to let you guys know.
I've heard of a meet cute. This is not that.
She was pretty interested in what I had to say, you guys.
Like, wow. You know what? And the more Gwen gets talked about, the more I care less that she cared about the blog.
So to continue reading from the book of Ziz, they, and I use they, them pronouns retrospectively, because they are bigender, showed me the sailboat they were in the course of moving onto for housing, which was anchored in the Encinal Basin. I thought that was pretty sweet. When it was offered for me to stay the night, and I said I didn't bring my hormones with me, they lent me some. Wait, I thought they didn't know they were a trans woman.
Oh, right, what? They didn't know what?
I liked I thought that was pretty sweet.
I thought that was
like that is the SNL version of swing.
Oh my goodness. I just how like she's just like, wait, I didn't think they were one. Oh. Like, okay, calm yourself, sis. All right. Quote, they talked about how when they were a child, their friend who was a cat had died. And they had, to use their own retroactive paraphrasing, sworn an oath of vengeance against death. They had investigated the paranormal, looking for anything that could be replicated and munchkined, gone around in circles, and then heard about a selection effect where if you stop making random trials when the paranormal seems to be working, you will appear to get results better than chance. Realize that was all they were finding and quit.
What? Now, what the fuck is going on?
Have you not declared a vengeance against death, JT?
I think
That's the only part I understood.
I think what Ziz is saying in the longest way possible is confirmation bias.
Pretty much, right?
Like,
Okay.
but I do love
I think
this talk.
I wrote what the fuck is going on before I read this part that I'm about to read to you now. Quote, they also told me about how they were otherkin, specifically dragonkin, not in a supernatural way, but a morphological freedom way. They
As
showed
one
me
does.
a dragon-shaped necklace. Huh?
I said as one does.
What? As one does. Yes.
Yeah.
This is totally the first conversation you have with somebody. I'm a dragon. And said the necklace was a reminder of how they would turn into a dragon after the singularity and eat their human body, since that seemed like the most fitting way to dispose of it. I said I'd want mine burned once I could escape it. In later conversations, they came to the conclusion that draconity was dracon.
I think that's right. Sure.
Draconity was a means of keeping their femininity alive in a hostile world, lacking the, I'll retroactively phrase it as, resistance to social reality, to say so outright. And to all of that, I say, I think I might go back to having norovirus. Thank you.
Now I'm going to need everybody here to type in the chat what you are becoming after the singularity.
I mean, I didn't know the singularity was going to bring about dragons. I didn't get the memo.
I mean,
the dragon memo.
I also didn't get the memo that being a dragon was the only way to keep your femininity alive in a hostile world.
I know, we didn't get the memo for that either. Like, I would assume we were in the email chain, but I guess not.
Not that cool. You're not that cool.
And if you don't know what the
you're not dragonkin cool.
If you're not sure what the singularity is, JT's going to explain it for you.
No, I see this like conversation happening, and I see Gwen like honestly saying this, and that I'm going to eat my body since that's the most fitting way to dispose of it. And then I see Ziz going, and I quote her actions.
Zoe.
I want to be Zoe after the singularity.
You went Zoe for the singularity?
Yes.
I talk so.
Zoe's great at just scratching a sofa.
She is what she is. I mean, if that's how we bring about dragons, I'm all for it. Everyone knows I love my dragons. I wouldn't guess that the I would assume my other kin is llama, since that's what I'm known as. You know, but I don't quite understand this other kin thing. But you know, okay, all right. I'm here. I'm here for you, Gwen. So
I like how you said I'm here for you and not for it. Apparently, okay, so apparently otherkin is a subculture of people who identify as partially or entirely non-human, often as a species or entity from fantasy or mythology. I'm not like nerd, but yes I am. But I've never heard of this before.
It's a thing, you guys.
Is it furry with scales? Like
it's close. They just don't dress up that way. It's basically the same, from my understanding, which is not,
like I'm not even joking. Like that's what it seems like. You know what I mean? Like,
it is. Yeah, no, it's very similar to that from my brief understanding. But I mean, if that's how we get dragons, I'm all for it. But okay.
Welcome in 80s. Good to see you.
Oh, hi, 80s.
Welcome to the craziness. We're in the middle of a story, if you couldn't tell from the graphic.
There's a kitten and a dragon on the screen. It's going well.
It makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. So Ziz continued saying, They said they'd asked to be a girl when they were a young child and had been
Mhm.
turned down. They talked a lot about precursor ideas to aliveness a lot. Said they hated sex and seeing animals have sex, and automatic actions like that seemed like a spark of personhood going out. That sounded familiar. I and permanently convinced them they were a trans woman.
It's cute, Ziz.
I don't
It's
I
cute.
don't understand. Like, that's literally not Ziz's job. Like, it's not her job to convince someone of that. Like, is she that high and mighty? Like, I can only imagine the journal post we would be reading if someone tried that on her.
Oh,
Like,
could you imagine?
do you know what I mean?
I mean, look what happens if you
It'd be
masturbate
another-
in your living room. Oh my God. Could you imagine?
And tomorrow newspaper headlines will say llama masturbator apologist.
I mean, this is her first.
LMA.
Yes, this is her and her Gwen's first conversations. I don't know about you guys, but this is, if you ever converse with me for the first time, expect it to go this way. Apparently, I want to know what you're going to be in a singularity.
No,
you know, all that.
That's not how it goes. No, no. That's not how it went with me. What, have you changed? No, I'm kidding.
Yes, llama. Oh my gosh. Stop it. That's funny.
I mean, yeah.
Okay. Oh. Okay. So we're gonna continue reading on, you guys.
Master
Ziz.
llama debater.
All right. Quote, they seem to think
Oh,
animals were moral patients, had determination and actual course changing and epistemology. Okay, I like this person. I told them that if they could be turned to the dark side, they would make a powerful ally. They were into this and asked me questions to try and learn out of my mental tech. You guys, we can't get more than 2 sentences in this without being like, WTF. What are you even saying?
I mean, it sounds like Ziz is saying that she convinced Gwen to become a woman and also join the dark side in a matter of an hour.
I mean, I know.
Power.
Yeah.
She's already a dragon.
She's already a dragon.
She's got a lot of power, right?
Already a dragon. I mean, like, but can you imagine? This is your first conversation with somebody, and you're like, you know what?
And you're on a boat.
You love animals. I love animals. Now, if you could just turn to the dark side of the Sith. Yeah. A Seamorg. I don't know. This is the crazy first conversation.
A Seamorg.
With somebody. Jeez. And learn out my mental tech. By the way, not in this episode. We're not going to explore what mental tech is. But I promise you, next episode, we're going to talk about this mental tech. We're going to talk a lot about this, you guys. Can't wait. It's crazy.
It's mental in the 90s way, tech.
Well,
all right.
Before we can get to mental tech, we have to go back, unfortunately, to Ziz's job search from hell.
Oh.
She writes, I passed all the Google interviews. Google adjusted the schedule repeatedly, adding an extra surprise interview.
How rude.
I had to ask my parents to pay rent for me again.
Oh.
Finally, around November, they said I'd pass the committee and I'd be hired. I just had to talk to teams and be put on one. I asked how long this would take. They said not that long, but it varied. I said, okay, I just want to know if it's going to take like 4 weeks or something. The recruiter laughed and said, it never takes that long. 3 months of recruiter saying any day or week now, and me telling my parents that they said that. My parents cut me off with some warning.
What?
And I can I just say that I remember distinctly, vividly writing when she said I had to ask my parents to pay for my rent again, I wrote in the margins, "Come the fuck on."
Exactly. Oh, so you haven't gotten any of these jobs. Your parents are paying for your bills. You're being an asshole to your roommate that you've been kicked out of. Like, and then what does she say? She says, oh, Google adjusted the schedule repeatedly. So they're working with her. But then she says, adding in an extra surprise interview. How dare they?
Probably because they wanted to
Working
make
with
sure she
her?
wasn't a sociopath.
Right? Like, oh my goodness. And then she cut you off this morning. I think it's because you've been offered a lot of jobs. I understand that you're not your first pick. Okay. I get it.
Like,
but your parents are probably
but
get a fucking job.
And, right. And like 3 months, like if this did happen this way, 4 weeks turning into 3, that's terrible hiring practices. But it's also Google. They can get the fuck away with anything they want. And it's not surprising. It's not surprising. The fact that she applied to all these jobs and didn't hear back from some of them, that's not fucking surprising. I applied to 100. I hear back from maybe 10% of them.
Sure.
It's not surprising.
Right. And I wouldn't make fun of this that bad until shortly we'll find out why I've been making fun of this the whole time about Google, because you'll see what she decides later. But oh, okay. So it's my turn. Sorry. So all right. So by early 2017, we're in 2017 now, January, February, don't know the exact date, but Ziz finds herself still jobless, and her parents have cut her off financially. So staying in the Airbnbs was no longer going to be an option for her. I don't know how much she was paying. I'm sorry. Our AP Amy has put red flags as a banner across the bottom of the screen. Perfect, Amy. Can you guys all tell Amy how much you would love for her to come on a show sometime? She's going to yell at me later for this, but just be like, yeah, Amy, you should come on. You're great. Anyway, so she doesn't have a place to stay. She doesn't have a fucking job. Her parents aren't supporting her anymore. So what does she do? Well, so then she contacts Gwen and expresses maybe interest in renting a space on her sailboat. As if Ziz realistically had anywhere else to go at this point. Like, I say that with a whole lot of snark, because as you'll soon hear, Ziz kind of paints herself as a savior here instead of what I think is really the other way around. All right. Gwen had her own place to live, you know, although she was low on money. All right. And planned just to live out in the open water in the bay. That was to save money, right? She paid money for her boat. She had her bills paid. But Ziz went to her because Ziz is the only person that needs something from her. Not the other way around. Gwen doesn't need anything from Ziz. But it's just cute that she's like, maybe interested.
Yeah, and if you think that Ziz's savior complex stops here,
scoff.
A la Hook. Quote, they said they had just been moving the sailboat out of Richardson Bay, where it was legal to anchor a boat to live on permanently. And they were broke. If I wanted to stay in a marina and have electricity constantly, I'd have to cover the marina's cost, $15 a day. That's $450, ish a month. I offered to pay. By the way, thank you so much for doing the math for me, Ziz. And I mean that genuinely. I can't fucking do it. I offered to pay $600 per month. This was about half of what I'd been paying in the Airbnbs and cyber taxis.
I don't know what that is.
To move between Airbnbs. What is she in, like Fifth Element? What the fuck is a cyber? Okay. and they were poor as hell,
Mm.
and I wanted them to have some margin. So like Ziz is calling herself a Samaritan, and Ziz calling herself a Samaritan is like calling a cat a lifeguard. Like, sure, they're gonna watch you struggle, but only out of curiosity and maybe a little bit of spite. Like it's not. You can't. I don't.
Right. I like how Ziz pointed out not once but twice how poor Gwen was. Right. She just wants you to know she's super
Right.
poor. Look at all this
Right.
extra money she's giving. In case you forgot she was poor, even though she has her own fucking boat. She's poor, you guys.
I mean, she's boat poor.
Even though
I've
she
seen
has
house
no
poor. I've seen
job.
big screen
Even
poor. She's boat
Even
poor.
though Ziz has no job, her parents aren't paying her rent no more. But in case you didn't know, Ziz was broker than, or Gwen was broker than her. And look at her doing great things. Help her out. She's giving her extra money, you guys. Extra money. What a wonderful person. Anyway.
Well, listen. I know we're moving on to Captain, but you know what boat stands for, right?
No.
Break out another 1,000. That's
Oh,
what boat stands for.
Oh, wait till you guys
It's
next
been joked
episode.
on. Yeah, I mean, it's been joked on many times in like
Yes.
Dangerous Catch or whatever. But I mean, truly, that's
There's
what
a
boat
reason.
stands for. You go and boat broke, like
Yeah.
for real.
There's a reason.
All right.
I now, after this story, I understand that statement more. I'm like, oh yeah, what were you guys thinking? But anyway, Captain, tell us some more about what Ziz has to say.
Well, she has some more complaints about her new boat she's living on. In we have an image of Richardson Bay at night. So just imagine living in this hell. Ziz says, I couldn't use my computer as well. Couldn't set up my 3 monitors. There was no room. Couldn't have a programming flow state for 9 hours. I had trouble sleeping. The slightest noise, and my mind kept alerting me to the possibility that someone like my roommate from several months ago was going to attack me in my sleep.
Jesus fucking
The
Christ,
only
you
reason
guys.
she needs 3 monitors is because of how long her fucking journal posts are. That's it.
That is so true. They're so long. But
Not
also,
only that, but those 3 fucking monitors are separated in two pages per monitor, and she's still fucking typing, not being able to find space. It's just annoying.
And she still can't spell the words right either.
Still can't spell the words right. And I like how she brings up this fucking roommate again. Like, oh, did you I'm sorry, did you turn off a breaker box on the boat, Ziz? Like, what are you even doing right now? But okay.
That's a gorgeous place, by the way.
It is beautiful.
And you're on a boat, so like your roommate's probably not going to be knocking at your door, like your old roommate.
She just wanted to remind you that guy's an asshole, in case you guys forget. She's very traumatized by the whole incident that she very much made worse, but okay. Oh.
Yeah.
All right, so let's hear some more what Ziz has to say. Quote, I talked to Jasper for several hours a day about transness, about neuroscience, about their crazy plans to save the world, to breed super intelligent dogs, about mine, about the ferret named Nova they considered their son, whom they had given to a pet store after deciding training ferrets was not the optimal course. And I give you guys the floor for that amazing 3 sentences.
It's not, well, and unfortunately, I didn't put it in the right spot. I would like to retract the statement that I had written here, because I would like you to continue this thing, the whole thing. That's not even worth it. Everybody just continue. Go back to about the ferret and keep going. I'm not going to stop this idea train.
Okay. In case we missed the ferret part because we heard the super intelligent dog part, and if you guys forgot the ferret, I'm just going to repeat that again. Okay, because it is two things back to back that you're like, wait, what? Oh, what is happening? All right, so we're going to talk about transness. We're going to talk about neuroscience, about their crazy plans to save the world, which is to breed super intelligent dogs. About mine, meaning Ziz's, about the ferret named Nova they considered their son, whom they had given to a pet store after deciding training ferrets was not the optimal course. Changed their mind and tried to find him again so he could be cryopreserved. And it had been too late. About my attempts to figure out the, quote, actual art of planning. About my mental tech I wrote about on my blog, in case you didn't know Ziz has one. About my much cruder back then theories of human morality. Guys.
She treats her blog like she's a vegan or something. Like she's got to let everybody know that she's a vegan and she has a blog.
She has a
And,
blog,
like,
in case you guys didn't know.
I don't.
That you're reading.
Well, why are we cryopreserving a ferret? Why?
Okay, let's start with first the breeding of intelligent dogs.
Super intelligent.
Super intelligent. Sorry, you're right.
Don't downplay this.
You're right.
Until I pull out a hot dog,
Super
and then they all become
intelligent
fucking dogs.
Let me pull this back up because I do want to. Amy, put that dog back up there again. Look at that. That gif is amazing, by the way. Look at the dog clapping.
Yeah, again, though, I pull out a hot dog and Judge Dog is going to go out the window. Like, it doesn't.
But honestly, at the rate things are going, I mean, should we give the super intelligent dogs a try? We don't know. All right. I know it sounds crazy, but like, maybe. I don't know. All right. So there's that.
Listen,
Let's talk
Gwen.
about Nova, the ferret. Oh, I wish we had a cute picture of a ferret. Okay. So Gwen considers this ferret her son, which is as a pet owner. I mean, I have kids. I have a kid. And I have pets. I love them a lot. They are different, but I very much love my dogs, despite what Zoe thinks. I do love them. But
despite what everybody else thinks for Zoe.
Right. So she has this ferret. Then she gives it back to the pet store because she's like, I can't train a ferret, apparently. And then she changed her mind and she went to go find him again to cryopreserve. Was she going to kill the ferret to cryopreserve it? Or what?
Well, it just reminds me of Futurama with all the heads, and then all of a sudden there's just like a ferret. It's just preserved. And the ferret's just like, I don't fucking know.
Like, why is cryopreserve? We're like, yes.
Why is training ferrets up there with breeding super intelligent dogs as far as a plan to save the world?
I mean, she can't train ferrets.
It's a lot
How's she
cheaper.
going to train dogs? What is happening?
Spoiler alert!
Listen, it's like
ferrets
dodgeball.
aren't saving the
If
world.
you can train a ferret, you can train a dog.
And then I like how Ziz ends that with about my much cruder back then theories of human morality. Okay. She gave
that ferret abandonment issues. Can you imagine a ferret with a baby?
Listen, I don't have a lot of I know I'm laughing at Gwen. I don't have a lot of bad things to say about Gwen, but Gwen, if you're listening, because I know you're out there, I want to have this conversation with you about super intelligent dogs saving the world. I know I'm laughing.
Please.
I do think it's a silly idea, but I will happily entertain that conversation. And
here's the thing, though. Awesome. We are laughing within the context of Ziz and Zizians. We're not necessarily laughing at just you doing that. I think it's cool. And working with dogs, I can see it. But within the context of how this was like the first second conversation you've ever had, I just thought,
Yes, but if you want to reach out, email me at tara@tcwtmedia and .com. And I'll happily talk about super intelligent dogs taking over the world. Oh, no.
I will happily watch you both
Gwen.
do that.
I don't even know how Amy did that. Okay. Anyway.
Quote, they talked to themselves all the time. An absence of a private room made it impossible for me to spend long hours at a time thinking about anything, unless it was talking to them. Me and Jasper Gwen argued over roommate difficulties. They had ADHD and autism.
Not surprising.
They were I don't know why that matters. They were very particular about influence of things most people would ignore on their cognition. They had to have an uninterrupted wake-up process of some hours after they woke up shortly after noon. They slept way longer than 9 hours. They had mapped out the cognitive effects of each hour of their stimulants and would get very angry if I interrupted their thoughts at the wrong time, like it would ruin their whole day. Who does this?
Yeah,
Who?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting that, so I don't know how many of these people have autism. I don't want to assume that people do. I know a couple of them, in fact, do. I know that Gwen does. I know that Emma, who we'll talk about later, also does, because they said that they are. I don't think we can assume other people. But I do think, last episode we talked about Ophelia Bachholt, who also would, by time, decide how efficient she was. And, it's very similar to Gwen here, right? So we have a very similar persona in that sort of thing.
It sounds like she was roommates with an Excel spreadsheet, just like rows and columns of conditions, schedules, quiet hours, like, quote, like they had mapped out okay, Dr. Adderall, like maybe also map out how to be a functional human being. I mean, listen, if one question ruins your entire day as you're getting ready, that's not a schedule, it's a hostage situation.
But we also have to consider the source here. This is coming from Ziz, and I feel to me,
for sure.
This seems like Gwen could have said, "Don't talk to me till I've had a cup of coffee," and this is what Ziz wrote.
Yes.
But who knows? Who knows?
Point taken.
How extreme it was.
I retract my statements. But
very much agree.
Yeah.
Like, don't talk. Do not DM me before 10 o'clock in the morning. You're going to get an answer. It's not going to be a good one. And I'll straight up be like, listen, I haven't had any coffee. Come back to me in like 2 hours. Okay.
I just expect not to hear anything from you until you've had coffee. Unless
That's
it's
true.
like a, wake and take a break situation.
Take a break time, right? Oh, okay. So let's see what more she has to say about Gwen. Yes, please do remember all of this that we're reading is in Ziz's words. Okay. Ziz's words.
That's why I said, like, within the context of Ziz's journal, this is like the jokes are coming. However, it would be really interesting to talk to some of these folks outside of that situation.
Yes. Right? Yes, I would very much. I do not believe that Ziz is a reliable narrator, obviously, for very obvious reasons. Quinn, I would love to talk to you. By the way,
Ziz is no Bob Woodward.
Right. Okay.
More Rob Zombie than anything.
Let's get back into her post here. Quote, when I made accommodations for this, they started invoking them all the time, days on end, to avoid difficult conversations about accommodations I wanted from them, in a false faces sort of way. Dun, dun, dun.
Back to faces.
There was something else to the social strategy they were using that fit this. They discouraged me from going meta. Jesus Christ. Sorry. At one point, they threatened to kick me out because, if I remember correctly, after more than a day of them saying I couldn't talk about my grievances because it would do bad things to their cognition, I said something anyway. Eventually, they said, okay, let's talk about the thing. We did. They were surprised. The main thing was just that I was sick of being discouraged in talking about things. Right, guys?
I'm on 3, and I wish I was on 5.
Yeah.
Right? It was just a little thing that just turned into a big thing. It's just a little thing, guys.
Well,
it's fine.
The whole going meta thing is like talking about something, and I just don't understand what she's like. Is that just like was it an SEO word that she just wanted to be able to be found on the journal a lot better? Because that ain't right. But
I mean,
continue on.
We have heard a lot of Ziz's words, and you know what? I'm tired of fucking listening to you too, Ziz. Okay? Just shut up and let me have my fucking brain for 30 minutes, okay? Like, I can't even blame. And then you have Gwen, who apparently has ADHD and autism. I'm sure that's even more for her. And you're like, you know what? Really? It was just, I was tired of being told that I shouldn't talk about these crazy fucking things that we're talking about here.
And I couldn't have my 3 screens to distract me.
Anyway, let's continue on.
So to conclude this discussion with Gwen, as Ziz writes, they came to agree with me about the false face assertions. Started seeing the same things in other people. Apologized. It was continuous work. Social strategies ran deep. Over time, they became less painful to be around. And this is, as far as we can tell, like her best friend that she's saying it's less painful to be around.
Yeah. Like,
remind her not to write me a review on LinkedIn.
Right? Like, and she's like, they came to agree with me. Like, look at how good I am convincing people of my ideas. After you probably sat and talked to them for 4 freaking hours, just going around in circles, I'm guessing. You probably turned off the breakers to the boat. I don't know. But
there's a difference between people agreeing with your ideas and literally raising a white flag because of all the red flags you're showing.
Yes.
There's a difference.
Yes.
But if you were worried about her worry about money, quote, I finally actually applied for unemployment benefits. I had a psychological barrier to doing so. I had been in talks with NASA where I used to work to do remote work for them. They were interested in paying me like an intern, but not as an employee, as an independent contractor without benefits. A 1099, there's a reason that exists. They cited financial difficulties. I did not believe them. Drat. You know what? If her entire journal was just drat, that was perfect. I had liked them. Google continued to string me along, but the interviews dried up. I got approved for unemployment benefits. Wow. $10,000.
Oh.
I'd like to see that application. This meant I had some time because I'd like to copy it. I stopped bugging Google to complete the supposedly confirmed I'd get hired process. If they hired me soon, it would deprive me of at least several months of freedom. In other words, if I work, I don't get to. Yep, we all know this. There was probably no way to, quote, put them on reserve. But if they ever were going to hire me, becoming forgotten about was about the same thing.
So, do both of you want to call bullshit on this whole thing? Because I do.
Yes, please.
So you're telling me you're going to be like, Google, I'm fine. I have $10,000 in employment that I finally, but first of all, I had a psychological barrier to doing so. Like, what are you even saying, first of all. But also, you're going to basically tell Google to fuck off right now because you have $10,000. How much is Google probably going to pay you that you're like,
Well,
we'll just
not
put
enough
on hold
in accordance to how much she thinks she's worth.
right? Like, I got $10,000. I'm on a boat. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want anyone to think there is nothing shameful about taking unemployment benefits. You've paid into it. You've earned it. I'm all about that, right? It's just she has been complaining about this freaking job. And now she's literally saying, I'm not going to look that much into it because I have $10,000 now. So, and I don't think they're going to wait. So I just don't. You're living on a boat, your friend's boat, who she bought, not you. Just a reminder. Team Gwen over here for now.
Well, I don't know if the $10,000 was just like retroactive pay for unemployment or if she's getting future payments. I don't fully understand how it's possible given the fact that she has turned down jobs. Has not. I mean, I've been on unemployment before. There's things you have to do.
Yeah.
Including take jobs that are offered to you.
Yeah.
They're reasonable.
Correct.
So
it's almost like somebody might have had to, I don't know, falsify forms or go against their moral, standards that they didn't want to go against earlier for that undergrad job. It's almost like they might have had to do the same things to get unemployment in this scenario, but what do I know? But okay. Okay, Gwen. Or, sorry, not you, Gwen. I'm so sorry, sis. Not you, Gwen. Not you. Okay.
Jerry.
Anyway.
Jerry.
Well, I'm not entirely sure about my feelings on Gwen yet, but in the grand scheme of things, she's much better off than this. So. Okay. Going. All right. So, quote, there was something really deep I hadn't had before in being able to just think and bounce ideas off someone equally interested in schemes to save the world for weeks on end. I came to see the way the Bay Area compressed this style of thought, a way be shortening runway via artificially high housing prices as something that was crucial to escape for anyone who wanted to actually try to save the world. Who wouldn't accept a 90% probability of doom? Who knew the game had to change somehow?
At this point, I'll take the 90% doom. Sounds like a reasonable alternative. Kind of like choosing to sit in the smoking section of a plane in the 80s. Like, it's awful, but at least you know what you're in for. Maybe you'll get to sit next to Spicoli. I don't know.
I like how she's all like, I'm going to use this time to think, bitch, you are on a boat, smoking weed, just chilling on a boat in a bay. All right. And you're going to be like, this is my thinking time.
Something tells me that she took Blue's Clues very literally.
Okay, girl. Okay.
So she continues to say, I had come away from WAISS convinced I needed to learn so many things, to sort my thinking and planning in so many ways, and trying to squeeze this in, but never having the time. And job application hell had displaced it. The Bay Area was the problem. But that was where all the rationalists were. And historically, talking to them had been extremely important. Hopefully at some point I'd be a programmer with money to spare, but time kept going by.
Well, so the Bay Area was the problem. The rationalists are there. Therefore, the rationalists are the problem.
I mean,
that's actually really faulty logic, but I like it.
I would say to some extent the rationalists, I know that the industry is there, but they're all insisting on living in like one of the highest priced housing markets in the country. So yeah, it's a problem, but it's a foreseeable problem, especially for a group of smart people. But
it is a foreseeable problem. And I don't know this to be true because I haven't looked it up yet, but I'm certainly going to. So this is just me speculating. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. But I am very curious to see who owns these properties that a lot of these rationalists who are moving to San Francisco live in. I'm very curious who the owners of these properties are because I bet I know. Just putting that out there.
I bet they smell really bad.
All right, so quote, Jasper Gwen had a sort of continual ontology generation thing going on. They called them ontologies of the week because they were to be tried on and usually discarded. They had enormous trouble writing, their thoughts down. They said all their best thoughts were illegible. That they would try and leave breadcrumbs for themselves to reload the context. But writing incautiously, subtly, but actively damaged the process. They had lost friends from psychological inability to write emails. Like, they stopped trusting someone as soon as they stopped seeing them in person regularly. They said they experienced discontinuities in personal identity they figuratively called reincarnations. I don't know what I read. I don't know.
So, like, I understand that for people, you know, apparently Ziz says that Gwen has autism, and from reading Gwen's stuff, I don't think Ziz is making that up in any way, shape, or form. And, you know, so those come with social struggles for those kinds of people in writing stuff down. But I almost also kind of wonder if Ziz is a little bit like, oh, I'm not going to include any of Gwen's actually good ideas so I can like claim them as my own later, or, you know, like, it's just very interesting how she words that. Because guess what? Gwen has her own blog. All right. So Gwen can write things. All right. And I don't think her blog is necessarily like, quite honestly, I don't think it's as incoherent as this. I mean, it's still out there, you guys. Like, I'm not, but it's just, again, really says, okay, girl. Okay. You say so, but okay. All right. So, and this is our last paragraph for tonight for the blog. Okay. So this is what we're going to end on with tonight. Quote, while motoring back, they were asking me about fusion, which they said they still hadn't been able to do. I was basically stumped. I asked them to give an example of internal conflict. They said adventure versus comfort. They mentioned putting themselves through discomfort, like exposing themselves to cold to enter a more adventurous mindset. There they would do more adventurous things. I said, don't do that. It's internal violence. I might have also said something about a state of being where you just fix bugs without worrying if they were bugs fixing bugs, because, you know, you could fix the next one when they were exposed. That there was some self-fulfilling prophecy nature to whether you were in that seat or not. They said that helped. Did it? Because I don't know what the fuck you just said, sis. How did that help in anyone in any sort of freaking way? What?
It's like, you know, this whole like adventure v comfort thing. Like, I get that. That could be very much an internal conflict, which could be violent, sure. But like, then they go on to explain like putting myself in cold to then feel like I can be adventurous. No, just go hike the Himalayas. That's adventurous and cold. Like, just double scoop it, multitask it. Why are we making this so difficult?
I don't understand the internal violence part, right? Because like I suffer from like a lot of anxiety, and especially social anxiety, and like there's the whole like putting yourself in the situation to like exposure therapy, right? To like get over that. And I think that's what Gwen is trying to be like, yeah, like I'm trying to expose myself to this to get out of this, you know, because again, she is also autistic. Like that's a big problem they have with living in their own little bubble and not wanting to get out of that, you know. And then Ziz is like, no, how dare you try to expand your horizons or try to overcome these things? How dare you do that? You know how bad you're being to yourself? You're not being truthful. Like, who the fuck are you to say that, Ziz?
Me.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Oh, and then she ends it. She ends it with, they said that helped. Girl, so done with you. I'm so done with her. So you guys, that brings us to the conclusion where we're going to stop. Yes, that emoji is everything. We are all like right now, like, what did they even just say? So that's where we're going to stop tonight. This is about halfway through this blog post. Okay. Because again, Ziz uses all of the words. So I think this is a good stopping point tonight because we've been with a very long time. There's our family full house photo there. So good news is that we don't have any updates to our group cheat sheet for tonight with all the people. We don't have any updates. This is the only episode, unfortunately, where I can say that because things are not going to get any better from here, you guys. You know, we chose to have fun tonight because there isn't, you know, anyone dying tonight or being harmed in any way. So we just really wanted to have fun tonight while we still can, because it is not going well after now. So JT, what are your closing thoughts for tonight with what we've heard? What do you got going on here?
I mean, without a doubt, this is one of the strangest origin stories of a cult leader that's ever been documented. We're still not finished with it. We've got a highly intelligent but socially inept protagonist, a parade of questionable housing arrangements, a deep-seated victim complex, and just the right amount of grandiosity to turn everyday inconvenience into moral crusades that she never even carries through with fixing.
Ugh,
Ziz
so much
thinks she's playing chess while we're playing checkers, but she's not. She's flipping the board. And then she's declaring herself the only one who understands the game, and then blaming the pieces for not moving the way she wants. I mean, sure, it's easy to laugh at the absurdity of it all because it is just that. But it's also terrifying. Like, these aren't just journal entries from someone with too much time on her hands and not enough perspective. This is the foundational philosophy of someone who would go on to justify violence in the name of some grand self-assigned mission. And it all started with dog shit on the floor and a man masturbating on a couch in front of a big screen TV.
I mean, I did tell you guys at the beginning, it all started over asking for rent in advance, you guys. You got all that from that.
Honestly, talking about this with y'all tonight, I've read these posts before, but something about hearing it out loud. Some of the things that Ziz writes about Gwen, and I think it's something I already kind of thought is Ziz is going to be finding people that she can manipulate for one reason or another, and I'm concerned where we are now. I'm worried for Gwen because some of these asides that Ziz is saying, if they are true, I feel like could be signs of a deeper mental situation that is being untreated. I don't know that, but just there's multiple comments about, you know, not being able to understand her emotions, not being able to understand being alive, reincarnations, just things that like could just be young people having deep conversations on a boat, because we know that's happening.
Sure.
But I just I'm kind of worried. It seems like she's found somebody who could potentially be struggling already, broke them down in this roommate conflict where she forced her hand when Gwen might have tried to establish boundaries with her, and that set her off. So I'm curious to see where that goes next week, because I know we're going to be seeing these two again. As far as my thoughts on Ziz at the moment, other than me thinking she's probably taking advantage of people, I think Ziz thinks she's the smartest person in any room.
Oh, boy.
She thinks she can save the world, but she can't even use spell check. And I think, like plenty of ambitious and delusional people do, she blames others for her own issues. She can't get a job because she isn't fake enough. She can't get a house because everyone else is fake. She acts like she's looking for empathetic souls, but it just, like I said, really seems like she's just preying on people that she thinks she can manipulate.
Yeah.
She may see herself as an end bringer or a Darth Maul type. But at this point, she seems more like any of the kids on a very special episode of Full House. Young, precocious, and likely to learn a lesson soon.
Yes. Yes.
With some really shitty background music at the end.
I agree. I have, I'm still undecided after all this time. I'm still undecided on my feelings about Gwen. I think after the next episode, as I process it more, I might have more of a feeling about that. But I do very much believe that Ziz has sought Gwen out purposefully. I know we laughed a lot about the things that Gwen had to say, according to Ziz. Again, this is according to Ziz, so it's not entirely reliable. But I do feel like clearly we have seen that, Gwen has some difficulties here, right? She has ADHD, she has autism, but at the same time, she has stuff going for her. She lives on her own boat. She's trying to make a life for herself. And then Ziz just comes out of fucking nowhere, you guys. And I'm going to let you know, it doesn't turn out great. Okay. Because again, here we are with Ziz with another roommate. How do you think, because that's why I wanted to bring up the earlier stories. Like, I don't know, maybe some of you are bored or not. I don't know. But the reason I wanted to tell these earlier stories is because you are going to see this exact behavior with other people, right? So the relationship you saw with Ziz and the roommate Michael, you're going to see playing into other relationships where she's manipulating and triangulating and all of these things, and that's why I really wanted to talk about it tonight, because it's not very often that you get to hear from like a cult leader's own words what they're thinking and what they're saying. Right now, Ziz is in jail. Okay. She's locked up. She has no bond for reasons. I mean, you guys, the next 2 episodes are going to be wild when you find out what Ziz does next. But I forget where I was going with that. Either way, it doesn't matter. I think tonight really shows that Ziz doesn't get along with people well at all.
No.
Because she has to respect them to get
ma'am.
along with them.
Yeah, she has to respect them to get along with them. What you're going to hear from other people as well that encounters this, a lot of people say, oh, cult leaders are very charismatic. Guess what? Literally nobody has that to say about Ziz. Okay. Nobody has to say that Ziz is a charismatic leader whatsoever. I think she just manipulated people, got into their brains, and took advantage of situations. You notice nothing's wrong about Ziz, right? Like, she doesn't have any difficulties or setbacks, because Lord knows she'd tell you about them, right? Like, she would let you know if there was something else going on with her, like there is Gwen. But I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode, you guys. I know it was a little bit different than our normal, where we cover all the facts, and this is our interpretation of Ziz's reading. But again, I hope you enjoyed the ride and an insight into that. So our next episode, we will be finishing reading the rest of this blog post by Ziz. The next episode will not be as long as this one. I do apologize about the length, but like at this point in the show, you realize why we had to tell it. So you're here. There's so much more. We're going to meet some new members, because how do you guys think Ziz handles new people coming into her and Gwen's friendship? Do you guys think that goes well? I don't think it does. We're also going to finally explore what they mean by mental tech. You guys, I don't even know how to explain this like a normal person, to be honest with you. And then we're going to cover Ziz and Gwen, their attempt to solve the San Francisco rent problem by forming a rationalist community that lives on boats that they call the Rationalist Fleet, aka the Rat Fleet. And it goes about as well as you think it's going to go, you guys. We're still dealing with this in 2025, but you don't want to miss it. Also, if anyone watching happens to know any of these people or was part of the group themselves, we welcome you to reach out to me at tara@tcwtmedia.com. And we would love to have you on the show and hear your story. If I'm wrong, please, and you're part of this, email me, let me know. I have no problem being like, oh, that wasn't right. And Gwen, if you're out there, I really want to talk to you, to be quite honest. Now, if you happen to have any information. But hey, we're both afternoon girls.
After her coffee.
Me too, girl. Me too. We can be friendsies. Now, if you happen to have any information about any of the criminal acts that anybody does in any of these episodes, please call the FBI. Not me. I do want to know those details, but I also don't want to talk to the FBI. So let them know.
We got people who can look those up.
Yeah, right.
And like, if you like what you've heard tonight, hit that like button, share the video to appease the YouTube gods. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because you don't want to miss when we go live on this. We're going to be back this Thursday at 9 Eastern. We're going to be covering the Twisted Tale of Uloma Curry Walker. And we will be back here next Sunday, March 23rd at 9 to continue the tale of the Zizians.
Oh, you guys don't want to miss it. You guys don't want to miss it. It gets crazy. Crazier. Well, on that note, let's sign off for tonight. Cabin, you're new here. What sign off do you have for us?
Oh, I want to thank everybody for watching. I was really excited to see some of the people pop into chat, even though I couldn't figure out how to chat with them and do the things I need to do. Also, Terry, please feel better soon, because you're a million times better than I am at this. And to quote Ghostbusters, keep fit, stay sharp, and make good decisions.
Yeah. Everybody leave all the good comments on how great of a job Captain did tonight. This is her first time on any of our shows. I think she did freaking fantastic. I hope she comes back again to discuss Zizian some more, because I loved her insights so much. She did a great job. Thank you for that. Terry, we do hope you feel better. Until next Sunday, you guys, thank you all for being here. And until next time, go forth and be amazing. Finger hearts in the chat for me.
Yes,
JT?
Terry, please feel better. We can't both be sick at the same time. It has to be one or the other. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. Please, please, please take care of yourselves, your friends, your family, and your community. Do not let anybody, not even Ziz, dull that sparkle. And shine on, you crazy diamonds. We will see you again on Thursday.
And prepare
Bye,
for
everybody.
the singularity. Bye.
Prepare for the